I'm going to quickly give you an introduction to what automation is, what n8n is, and how that fits into this ecosystem of automation and the AI tools that are kind of moving into space and what the future looks like. So automation refers to basically using any kind of a technology or any kind of tool to perform tasks with minimal human intervention. That's kind of the overall gist of what automation is. And the goal of automation is to save time, reduce errors, and really kind of increase efficiency, because if you're doing repetitive works, that's where automation comes in to remove those repetitive tasks and make it predictable, right? So automation could be used in business, in marketing, in customer support, and pretty much in every single industry nowadays because of these AI tools that are becoming more and more powerful. So there are two types of automations. There's the process automation, and then there's a task automation. Process automation basically refers to automating any kind of complex workflow. Like, for example, invoice generation would be a good example of what a complex workflow might look like. But on top of that, now with these AI tools that are being introduced in the market, you can make extremely complex automation. And then there's also the task automation, which means this will be automating simple and repeatable tasks, right? So for example, sending a follow-up email, chatting with customer support, all of this is something that can be very easily repeatable and therefore very easily automated. So that's kind of the overview of what the concepts of automations are and what that space is. So there has been a huge, obviously, influx of no-code and low-code tools that have come into this space because of AI tools, right? So no-code tools or low-code tools like n8n really empowers users that previously didn't have technical knowledge to really get involved and build workflows because of the fact that these user interface for these tools have become extremely powerful, where now you don't need to have any background in coding, where before, in order for you to build these automation using these technical tools, you needed to know how to code. Otherwise, there was no way for you to be able to jump in and create these automations or workflows yourself. So these introduction of these low-code and no-code tools that have been coming in the market lately because of AI, that has really removed this barrier to enter in this space. And that's what is extremely exciting as we move forward in the future. So what these no-code and low-code tools do, they really speed up development, and like I mentioned, it kind of removes that gap between the technical and non-technical users. Where before it was very difficult for a non-technical and technical user to collaborate, but now thanks to these great tools, you can actually collaborate with developers, with technical people, because you have a very low barrier to entry. So that's where we kind of come to n8n. So n8n is an extremely powerful tool. It is a no-code automation tool, but there's obviously a lot of customization options. So if you are good at coding, or if you know coding already, you can even build more complex tools, right? But the barrier to entry to building these automation tools has completely been removed because of the fact that tools like n8n are in the market. And in my opinion, n8n is the best tool when it comes to building powerful automations and building powerful AI agents specifically, because of the fact that their focus is more shifting towards building AI agents, and they're releasing really great tools on top of their existing integrations that they have to make it really, really powerful. So one of the biggest features, in my opinion, that n8n has compared to other tools that are out in the market is the fact that you can actually self-host all of this. Self-hosting gives you huge advantage when it comes to the privacy of your data, right? Because a lot of companies, a lot of individuals are very hesitant to share their data with third-party APIs or third-party apps. Therefore, the ability to self-host n8n in your instances really gives you that peace of mind and full control over your data, and therefore privacy. So that's kind of a huge benefit there. And then also on top of that, n8n is also extremely flexible, which means that it has existing native integration with other apps, but on top of that, it gives you also access to tools that you can connect to third-party apps that it doesn't have integration with. Another biggest thing, in my opinion, is the cost. When it comes to these no-code or low-code tools that are out there in the market, and Zapier, Make.com are kind of in the same space, and there's other tools as well, but these are kind of the most popular ones. When it comes to cost, honestly, none of these tools are even close to n8n. So tools like Zapier and Make.com, they actually charge per operation, versus n8n actually charge per workflow. And again, I understand if you're new to this, this might not make any sense to you, but just to show you kind of the difference. And again, these charts and this data is taken directly from n8n's blog, and I have this link that I'll put in the description below, so that way you can check out and read the whole blog if you want, because they really do a good job of explaining why n8n stands out when it comes to cost. Even if you're using their cloud app, it's still extremely cheap. But if you use this as a self-host option, that becomes even more cheap, right? And like I said, we will explain and explore those things further down. But this was just an idea for you to get an understanding of what this space is and why n8n really stands out compared to the other tools. And also a huge difference between, in my opinion, between n8n and the rest of the tools that are in the market when it comes to the automation space is their AI tools. They have really shifted their focus on AI. They definitely are moving, and they're understanding that the future of these tools are moving towards building AI agents that's going to be specific to different tasks that will sit on top of these large language models. And that's where we're really going to focus and explore the power of n8n. All right, so that was kind of a quick introduction of the automation space and these different tools. In the next video, I'm going to introduce you to the n8n app, the canvas, how to sign up for the free 14-day trial n8n account, so that way you can get started. And then I'm going to do a quick introduction of how you can start to build your own little automations to be able to get a good understanding before you move on to the rest of the tutorials. So this will be a good foundation for you to understand and get started with n8n. We're going to go ahead and get started with signing up for an account for n8n. I want you to start with just the cloud account for now, because they give you a 14-day trial, and that's going to be a good way for you to get started. Don't worry about self-hosting at this point. If you're new to n8n, I think it's a good way to get started is through their app cloud account, which is very, very simple. So that way you can at least get familiar with the canvas, with workflows and all that good stuff. So I've put a link below. Click on that. It will take you directly here. You're going to come and click on Get Started. So go ahead and fill your name, a company email, just put your personal email, a password, and the account you're going to be putting is, for example, for me, it's going to be aiworkshop.app.n8n.cloud. So this is going to be the URL. So once you do that, click on Try for Free, and then this will log you into the account. And this, you only have to do this once, because next time you come into this URL, it will automatically sign you in and bring you to your workflow. Okay, so once you do that, once you log in, it might ask you a question about, what you're using n8n for. Go ahead and fill that out, and then it will bring you to your dashboard. So this is where you're going to get started after you log in. It might take a couple of seconds for it to get online, but it will tell you when you're online. It will just going to say currently online, and then you can click on the open here. So just a quick introduction here. So the version, we'll take a look at that in a little bit, but this is going to be the latest version, and I will make sure I kind of show you where to update your version, because that's very important, because whenever they're releasing new versions, they're going to be fixing different bugs that might be in the nodes that you're going to be using. So you want to make sure you're running the latest version. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on Open Workspace. Okay, once you do that, you're brought into kind of this workflows homepage, and on the top left-hand corner here, it says 14 days left in your n8n trial. So that's what it's going to look like, which is great, because you can use this for 14 days for free. And then if you are okay with using the cloud and you don't want to go towards the self-hosting, again, it's perfectly fine. But anyway, so just to kind of give you a the layout. So the workflows, so this is where you're going to be starting to build these different automations, whether it's agents. So n8n refers to all of that as workflows. And that's what I was talking about earlier when it comes to n8n being cheap and compared to these other tools that are out there, is because they will charge you based on the workflow. So your workflow can be extremely complex. You'll be only charged for the workflow. And by the way, that's on the cloud account, not on the self-hosting, because on the self-hosting it's going to be different. So for this particular account, as you can see right now in the center, it says start from scratch. There's credentials. We'll come back to what that is. On the left-hand side, you have the admin panel. So if you click on the admin panel, this will take you to basically the same place as we were before. And if you want to update the version that I mentioned before, because right now, if I go back to my workspace here, on the left hand side and the bottom, if there's any update that needs to be done for this particular version that you're using, it will show up right here. So if you click on admin panel, it will take you back to that starting point, and you can click on settings here, and this is where you'll be able to see what version you're running. And they have several. There's like a beta that they have the latest beta and the latest stable. So try to stay on the latest stable, because that's always the safe space to be. So you have your time zone. If you have a different time zone, make sure you're selecting your correct time zones. And the bottom, you don't have to worry about this for now. And again, right now this is a trial, so this will show you your plan, what you're in. Okay, all right, so let's go back to our dashboard now. So we'll go back to opening it, and let's go ahead and create our first workflow, so that way I can give you an introduction of what those things are. In the bottom here, so the templates and variables and all executions, don't worry about this for now. We'll come back to this at some other point. But let's go ahead and click on start from scratch. So this is going to be the canvas. Basically, this is where you start with building your workflows. But before we do that, I just want to quickly go in the bottom and actually change the theme, because I like their dark theme. It looks a lot better in my opinion. But obviously, if you're using the light theme, if you want to use the light theme, that's fine as well. But the way to change the theme here is you're going to come here on your next to your name. You're going to click on these three dots, go to settings. And this will take you to your personal settings. You'll see your name, your email that you use for this account, and your password if you want to change that. You can always enable the two-factor authentication. I would suggest doing that if you have really sensitive workflows that you're building. But in the bottom right here, the personalization, you click on theme. They have obviously the light theme, which are currently the default system, but we can click on dark theme, and let's go ahead and save this. And as you can see now, the theme changes, and in my opinion, like I said, this is the way better in my user interface, or it looks a lot better. Okay, so that's good. Now you're gonna go back, and this is gonna be your canvas again. All right, so a few things to point out here on the top left-hand corner. So this is where you can actually name this workflow, and I highly suggest naming your workflow whenever you're creating a workflow, because that way you don't get lost and you have a good way to organize your workflow. So for example, this time for this one, I'm just going to say test workflow. All right, and you save it. Workflow successfully created. So now if we go back to our home, if you click on home, this is the first workflow that you've created, and obviously you will see all of your workflows down here. All right, so the way to get back to your workflow is you're just going to click on it, and it'll take you back to your workflow. The tags right here, so this is where if you have a lot of workflows that you've created, in order for you to organize them, you can actually tag this. Unfortunately, right now, n8n does not have the ability to kind of group workflows together. So the way to do that, so let's say for example, if you're building accounting workflows and you want to be able to separate that for example from your invoicing or from your customer support workflows, then what you could do is just add a tag to it. So for example, for this one, I'm just going to add a tag of AI agents, right? So now this workflow will always have this AI agent tag next to it. So if I go back to my home page, on the right next to the workflow, as you can see right here, it says AI agent. So next time, let's say I have 100 workflows here and I only want to see the workflows that have the AI agent tags, I can click on filter, and you can say filter by tags, and as you can see, my AI agent workflow tag shows up there. And when I click on that filter, it will list all of the workflows that are related to that tag. Okay, all right, so I'm going to get rid of that remove filter. Let's go back inside our test workflow. Okay, so on the right hand side here, you can see there's these three dots, and then there's the upgrade, the save, the share, and inactive. So on the three dots, so if you click on this, this will give you several options to download, import another workflow into this. And again, like I said, we will get into this later on when we build other complex workflows, where then you can actually import that template inside this workflow, and it will bring everything over. But again, like I said, for that, we will talk about that at other videos. And you can always download your workflow as well. So once you build your workflow, you can download it as a JSON file, and then you'll be able to import it or take it with you to another workflow and be able to put that in there as well. You can duplicate this workflow obviously, and then you can always delete it as well. Make sure you're always saving your workflow. That's a really good habit to have as you move forward and build your workflows. Make sure you're always saving it, because otherwise your progress might get lost if something gets closed without you doing that on purpose. So share, again, for now we don't have to worry about this. For now, we'll come back to this later. Inactive and active, and again, once we build our workflows, I'm gonna explain what this is. So in the center here, we have the editor and the executions. So the executions will come back later on when we actually go through and build a few workflows and try out and test these out. We'll come back and I'll explain what executions are. But you will be on the editor section whenever you're building your workflows. All right, and then on the bottom right here, so the zoom to fit, whenever you're zooming in or zooming out, you can always, if you have, for example, multiple connecting nodes or multiple connecting workflows that you've built, and you want to go back and kind of zoom out and go and see everything together, you can quickly come in here and click on zoom fit, and it will center everything, and it will show all of the nodes or all of the different connecting apps that are inside that workflow. You can obviously always zoom in and zoom out, and then with this one you can go back to and reset the zoom as well. The test workflow button, so this is where once you build the workflow, you can actually test it using this button, and again we'll go through and actually take a look at how that function works. So you add the first step by either click on the center or right here, right? And again, on the next video I'm going to go ahead and show you how to put in your first node and build a very, very simple workflow, so that way you get an understanding. But for this one, again, this is already getting very long, so I just wanted to give you kind of an introduction of the different things that are inside your canvas and how to navigate within your canvas and within your account once you create it. All right, so I will see you on the next one. So in this video, we're going to explore further what n8n nodes are, how the workflows work together, and I'll give you an introduction of how to create your first step and add different nodes together or different apps together and connect them to be able to go further and create different automations, workflows, or AI agents. All right, so we're back to our canvas. This is our test workflow as we built in the previous video. So we're going to go ahead and add our first step. So nodes are the building blocks of n8n. You can think of it that way, right? There's three categories of nodes. There's the entry point node, there is the function node, and then there's the exit point node. So there are different types of node in n8n. There's triggers that are basically your entry points. There's actions and apps, which we'll talk about, which are kind of the functions. And then there's nodes that are related to data transformation, to flow, to files, and many, many more advanced nodes, including AI nodes. So the way to add nodes into your canvas or into your workflow is you can click on the middle button right here, or you can come here on the top right hand corner, and as you can see it says open nodes panel, right? So you can do that or click on this. It will take you to the same place. Okay, so once you do that, it's going to open up. Because this is the first step, it's going to immediately take you to a place where it says what triggers this workflow, because a trigger is the first step that will start your workflow. There's several types of triggers. There's the manual trigger, there's on an app event, there's on schedule, on webhook call, there's on form submission, and again, depending on what you're building, these different triggers will be relevant to your workflow. So for example, if we just want to build a test workflow, we can click on trigger manually, and this will automatically add that node into the center of a canvas. And now we can move this. So you can move a node around by holding it, clicking on it and holding it, and you can move it around. So what this does is basically means that whenever you click the test workflow here, this workflow, the first step or this trigger is going to get initiated. On the top right here, as you can see these three dots, you can click on that. You can test this step from here. You can rename this node. You can deactivate it. You can copy and paste it, or you can delete it. And the shortcut here is also that you can delete this node right from the top right there. So And on the left hand side, as you can see, this kind of identifies already that this is a trigger node. And if we click on, if we put in another node, you will see that it will always have this little lightning sign, which means that this node is a trigger node. So let's go ahead and get rid of that and add another trigger node. So on the right hand side, again, you can see all these nodes that are existing. So let's say you were building a chatbot, right? Let's say you're building an AI agent that you're going to utilize with chat, which means that you can embed this into a website. You can click on a chat node, and this will be your first trigger. So same thing on the bottom, as you can see, it says when chat message received, meaning that this is going to be your trigger now. And on the bottom right here, as you can see, this chat appears next to the test workflow. And again, same thing on the left hand side, you can see the trigger button here, meaning that this is going to be your first node to trigger your workflow. On the right hand side, so this is where you can connect nodes to this particular node, right? So when you click on it, it's going to be the equivalent of same as going right here and clicking on it, meaning that once you click on this directly, this will now open up what happens next, right? That's what gives you and gives you flow that tells you, hey, add another node, because we've already had a trigger, so it already recognizes that. So now we can add additional triggers. So now we can do action in an app, meaning we can do something in an app with services like Google and all sorts of other native integration it already has with n8n. So these are going to be all of the apps that are already there, that already exist within n8n, so you can add any of it. So for example, let's say I want to add a Gmail node. I could either scroll and find that particular app that I'm looking for, or the fastest way to do this is just quickly search here, right? So if I search for Gmail, I can add that Gmail node, and now further it's going to give me options of, okay, what kind of a Gmail node do you want this to be? So it really gives you a more specific. So for example, if you want to send a message, you can click on send a message, and now as you can see, it will automatically open that node. So let's go ahead and get out of this, and as you can see right now, it is the next step that got attached to this previous trigger node. And I can move this around, and it shows you that this node is attached to this previous step. Okay, so the way to delete this, same thing, you can either come here, delete this node from here, or if you want to remove this connection, you can come and click on this remove connection right here. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. Now if I want to add, let's say not an app, but I want to be able to add something to transform the data that I'm receiving from this chat message, for example, I can click on data transformation, and this will open up all of the data transformation nodes that are available within n8n. You can add code to it, you can add date and time, edit field. This is a very, very useful tool that we'll go into in detail in later videos, but you can modify, add, or remove different items that are coming in from your previous node. You can do different types of filtrations. You have splitting out of the data. You can filter a data based on a condition. You can merge, you can aggregate. So they're really, really great nodes that they already have when it comes to transforming your data or data transformation. You can have a flow. You can click on the flow node group, which basically gives you all of the popular nodes that are within that category. So you can loop over items, you can filter, you can merge items, and then obviously these other ones that are there as well. There's obviously the core and the advanced AI, and these are kind of the complicated ones, but for now we will not focus on this because again, this is kind of an introductory video for now. And you can always add another trigger to this as well, but that's not really common. But let's go ahead and actually add another node, so that way I can introduce what the canvas is and what the inside of this node looks like. So let's click on data and transformation, or like I said, I could always just, if I already know which node I want to add, I can quickly search this node as well. So let's say I want to search for data. So once I do that, all of the nodes that are related to data will show up, and I can go ahead and select whatever I want. So let's say, so this customer data store is a n8n training node, which is great because this gives you some pre-populated or that data that's already inside it, so that way you can interact with it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that and click on get all people, and now as you can see, it quickly added this to my trigger here. If I click on chat on the right hand side on the bottom here, this will open up my chat window, where then I can send some form of a data into that particular node. So let's say I want to send a data called, let's say, hello. So if I click on that, as you can see, now you will see that this node executed a chat message saying hello, and this outputted the node. So that's another really cool thing from the n8n's user interface, is that you can see the data that's coming in from different nodes just from the outside, and how much data is coming in, right? So from here, I'm saying, hey, one item is coming in from this chat node, is being outputted and it's being sent to my other node that's attached to it. And from this node, there's 5 items coming in. So let's go ahead and click on this node. The way to get inside a node is you can double click into it, and it will open up this node and what's inside of it. But before I do that, actually, let me go ahead and get rid of the data that's coming in here, just so we can start from scratch there. So if I want to remove the data that's got initiated from these different nodes, I can come in the bottom here, and if I click on this little delete button, it's going to delete the execution, or it says at the bottom, deletes the current execution data. So if I do that, now I'm back to blank, meaning nothing is being outputted from these nodes. So let's go ahead and double click on this. And here, this is the inside of a node, if you think about it that way. So in the middle here, this, I can move this thing around, meaning this is the node that I'm currently interacting with. The input, so this is going to be coming in from my previous node, and the output is going to be the output of the current node that I'm in, right? So my previous node, I can click on execute, and this is going to execute the previous node, which in our case is going to be our chat node. I can also click on this left hand side in the corner. If I go back here, I can see it here in the little corner here. I can click on it, and it will take me to the previous node as well, right? So you can always go back and forth between nodes when they're connected. But I can go ahead and double click on this. So these are the different parameters and the settings for this particular node. We don't have to worry about settings in most of the nodes. Most of the nodes, we're going to be interacting with the parameter. So the operation for this particular node is, because this is a training, n8n training node, it means that it's just going to output a list of people or a list of one person. So if I select the get one person, and if I click on test step, this is going to output this result right here. Okay, so let me go ahead and move this on the left hand side here. And as you can see on the left hand side here, it says when chat message received, so that trigger, no fields, because there is nothing coming out of that input from my previous node. So on the right hand corner here, and same thing by the way, on the right and left, you can see that there's the schema view, table view, and JSON view. So let's go ahead and take a look on the right hand side, because we have some data on our output. So this is currently our table output, meaning that this is going to show all of the data that's being outputted from this particular node in a table format, right? So it's going to give you basically the columns and the rows with the names on the column names on top here. So I have one piece of data that came in, or one row of data that came in from this operation, or from the output of this node, and it's showing me in the table format. There's also the JSON view. So the JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. That's a JSON data format. You can see it in the JSON view, which it shows you in a really neat and cool way if you want to be able to interact with this from a JSON view. And then there's the schema view. So this is where you can see the output in the schema mode. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, and why the schema node is extremely useful when you're connecting different nodes together. So let's say I want to output some more data. Let me go back to my table view here. I can click on get all people, and this limit says 5, but it's actually only 5. Even if you add more into this, it's only going to output 5, because that's kind of the default. So let's go ahead and test this. I'm going to click on test step, and as you can see now, I have this 5 piece of data that got outputted. And again, I can see this right now in the table view, because it's showing me nice and neat the column names, the rows, and then the data that's inside this. And again, I can always click on the JSON. I will be able to see the JSON view here, and then also the schema as well. Okay, so if I want to get out of this node, I can always click here and come back and see my canvas view. And as you can see right now, it says 5 items are being outputted from this particular node. And same thing again, I can always double click on it and change this format. And let's say I want to delete this and start with my trigger node, and I'll want to send a piece of data through this. I'm going to go ahead and say again, hello. Now, if I double click on this node, now I can see on the left-hand side here, this is the data that's coming in from the previous node. So I'm looking at it in the schema view, and I can always take a look at it from a table view or the JSON view as well. So as you can see, this is the input that's coming in, and this is the output that's coming in or coming out from this particular node. Okay, and the operation of the canvas or the node itself in n8n is always from left to right. So you're going to be moving from left to right. When you're building a workflow, it's always going to go from left to right, meaning that all of the inputs are going to be coming in from the left-hand side and the output's going to be on the right-hand side. All right, so this video has gone long enough. Let's go ahead and stop this for now. On the next video, I'm going to go ahead and continue on this particular workflow, and we'll add a few more nodes, and I'll show you how to drag or grab data from the input and do something with that data, and therefore have a output that's going to be related to the input data that will be coming in from the previous node from us. Okay, all right, see you in the next one. So in the previous video, we kind of created our initial trigger node, which was a chat, and we also created this customer data store, which is an n8n training node. All right, so let's go ahead and continue in this workflow that we're building here. So let's go ahead and double click on our database here, this node. And as I said before, I'm going to click on test step, and this is going to output all this data that's coming in. So now let's get out of this. So now let's go ahead and actually start to manipulate the data that's coming in from this node and add connecting nodes to this. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the plus button because I want to add a node that's going to be connected to this node, right? So you're going to click on the plus button. So now let's say I want to transform the data that's coming in from this node, and therefore I can either search for that particular node that I'm looking for, or come in here and click on data transformation, and you can see all of the different nodes that are available for me to be able to do something with the data that's coming in from here. So let's go ahead and add this edit fields or the set that you did there, that n8n refers to. I'm going to click on this, and as you can see, now if I back out, it is connected to my previous node automatically. Okay, so let's go ahead and double click this. One of the things we can do, and I always suggest doing it, is adding a name to each node, and this gives you really a good organization and gives you a good understanding when especially when you're building really complex workflows. Naming your node is very, very useful because it will give you a good understanding of what node is doing what, right? So I'm going to go ahead, and for this one, I'm just going to say transform data. And if I just click on that and click on rename, it's going to change the name of this node to transform data now. If I back out, as you can see right here in the bottom, this is what it's going to show. And same thing, if I want to change the name for this, all I have to do is click on this, double click on it, double click on this again, and I'm just going to say test data. Click on rename, back out, and as you can see now, my node has really nice and clean name here. So let's go ahead, and as you can see right now, there's 5 items that are coming in as an output from this to this node. So let's go ahead and double click on this and try to do something with this data that's coming in. As you can see on the left hand side, I have my input, and this is going to be coming in on that previous video. I can always click on this, and this will take me to that next or the previous node. I can always go to my other node that's connected to this by clicking on the right hand console. Okay, so right now I have this as JSON view. I want to go ahead and try to utilize my schema view to be able to do something with this data that's coming in and manipulate it. One more quick thing in the JSON view right here, as you can see on the input, you have this little drop down, and this is going to show you all of the nodes that are connected to this node, and therefore you can have access to them from your JSON view here if you want to, let's say, grab something or grab data from your previous node here. So that's kind of a neat little drop down they have. But let's go back to our schema view here. All right, so this is all of the input, like I said, that's coming in from our previous node. You can see I have the name of my node and then all of the different items that are inside that node. And this is the previous node again that's shown to me. Just like on the JSON view, you can toggle between the nodes here. On the schema view, this will kind of list down all of the nodes on the left hand side. And I can always minimize or maximize this by clicking on the little arrow there. Okay, so now let's say I want to be able to do something with this particular data that's coming in. There's several modes that this particular node has. One mode is the manual mapping and another the JSON. So if you want to interact with JSON view, if you're familiar with code, then you can utilize the JSON view, but most people will be using the manual mapping here. So this says field to set. So as you can see right here, it says drag input fields here or add fields. So one of the great things about n8n is that you can actually drag different items inside of nodes and be able to interact with that data, manipulate that data, change that data, or add something to it. So let's go ahead and let's say I want to drag and filter this data or transform the data that's coming in just by the name and the email. So I'm going to go ahead and click on grab the name and just bring it down here. As soon as I do that, as you can see, when I dropped it here, this shows me these curly brackets and then the $ JSON.name. So this is what n8n refers to as expression. So anything that's inside these curly brackets are JavaScript code, right? So you can always click inside it, and if you are familiar with code, you can always do different things with it. But let's say if I want to add additional piece of code or additional piece of function, I can just click on just add dot, and then all of these different suggested functions are going to open up for me, where then I can manipulate this via code. But I'm not going to do that for now, so let's just go ahead and remove that dot from here. And I can always expand this. So if you have more data that you're putting in, you can click on this little button right here, and this will do an expand view, where then you can now interact with it in a maximize and with more space. And again, this is going to be very, very useful when you're building complex nodes and you're trying to manipulate data, or if you're adding prompts, then this view becomes really, really useful. And as you can see on the left hand side, so again, these are all the data that's coming in. This is my JSON, so I can always drag different stuff here, and this will show me the data in a JSON view, and then on the right hand side it will show me the result of what that looks like. And you can always, you know, manipulate it from here. But I'm going to go ahead and for now get rid of this, and let's go back to our node view here. So I can name this particular data that's coming in, right? So let's go ahead and say full name. Oops. And I can specify the type of data this is, right? So if it's a string, a number, a boolean, an array, or an object. Obviously this is going to be a string, so I'm going to leave it as string. And in the bottom right here, you can see that it shows the result of what this data looks like. And obviously this is going to be JGatsby, because that's what the name of this test data that's coming in from this side, right? Okay, and I can always add more stuff. So let's say I want to add the email here. Same thing, all I have to do is just grab the email, drop it here, specify the type, as I'll leave it as it is, and I can change the name to email. Okay, and let's go ahead and grab the country as well. So I'm going to grab the country. Same thing, I'll just rename it to country. You can always rename this to whatever you want. And let's go ahead and also maybe add this created, so that way you can see actually, you know what, let's grab the ID, so that way you can see that this is a number. So this time ID, and I'm going to change this to number. Okay, and on the bottom, like I said, you can see the result here. Okay, cool. So options, again, I don't have to worry about options for now, because it's going to be a very, very simple transformation. So now, as you can see on the left hand side, we have these 5 pieces, 6 pieces of information that's coming in for a particular item, and we're only grabbing 4 pieces of information. So we're almost like filtering this data, right? Because we're only grabbing the name, the email, the country, and the ID. So now if I click on test step here, what this is going to do is this is going to output all of this data based on whatever criteria that we identified here. And here we basically said, hey, we want all of these data, meaning all the 5 items that are coming in from our previous input or our previous node. We want to output this, and I only want to see the full name, email, country, and ID. And as you can see, the column names now instead of the name that was before. And like, okay, on table here. So here, this is a good view. Here, the ID, name, email, notes, country, created, all of this was coming in, and we manipulated this data using our set node, and the output is now only 4 columns, which we renamed it also to full name, email, country, and ID. So now we got all of this data that's coming in, we filtered it, or we grabbed only the data that we wanted to get, right? So this is going to be the output now from this node. And if I get out of this, as you can see right now, this came in, and these green tick marks, it just means that the execution was successful. So if there was any kind of error, you will see it in red here. Okay, so now there's 5 items just came from here, and 5 items coming out from here. However, this time the output of this is that instead of this 5, 6 columns that was in the input, we'll make the mistake here, let me get rid of this. Instead of the 6 column, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 6 columns that it was, we basically manipulated the data, and we now only have 4 columns. So we said that, you know what, we don't need the created time and the notes field. We just want to be able to grab these fields, and therefore we have now grabbed and changed the data that was coming in from the previous item. Okay, so let's go ahead and add and do something else with this, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click on plus button here, and now let's say I want to filter this, right? I only want to filter this for the certain criteria that I want to give, right? So same thing, you can click on data transformation, or you can just search here for filter, and all of the nodes that are related to filter, it will show up here. So I'm going to go ahead and you can click on filter here. With this will remove items matching a particular condition. You can have an if node, and you can have a switch node. So the switch node is that if you have several criteria that you're defining, then switch node is extremely useful, because this will output several types of data based on the filtration function that you have given. But let's say I want to use the if node. So I'm going to click on the if node. So now let's go back quickly just to see. Yep. So now it's connected. So now the if node spits out 2 outputs. It's going to spit out output or the data that's going to be coming out of this node as either true or false. So if the condition is being met for true, it will spit out all of the data from this area. And if it's not meeting it, it's going to send that data to the false node. So let's go ahead and double click on this. So now let's go ahead and say, hey, if this data that's coming in from my previous node, right, has a particular value, then I want to be able to output that. But if it doesn't, then I don't want that data to be shown in my output from this particular node. So for example, as you can see, the country here for this particular data point, it doesn't exist. So now I want to say, you know what, I don't want that data to come in here, or I don't want any fields that doesn't have a country to be able to be outputted in my node. So the way I could do that is the condition, as you can see, you have value 1, value 2, and whatever the condition you define in the middle here. So now let's go ahead and say, you know what, I only want to be able to check the data that exists, and if it does, send it to the true, and if it doesn't, send it to the false. So the way to do that is, instead of equal to, because it's a comparison operation, you have several operations that you have access to. You have the string operation. If it's a number, you do a number, or if it's date and time, depending on what type of data time. But for us particularly, this country, because we want to filter through the country column here, this is a string. So I'm going to click on string, and you have all these operations that are available to you through this if node. But for us, let's say I'm going to say, hey, if this particular set of data exists, then output it. So therefore, I'm going to click on exists. And as soon as you do that, this is going to now say, hey, okay, the data that's required for this particular action needs to be inputted here. So for the value, now I'm going to go to my schema view. Let me pull this out here, click on schema. So now I'm going to grab the country. And now I'm going to say same thing again. As soon as you grab these items, it's going to show you, you know, the different suggested operations or functions that you can utilize within the JavaScript code to be able to manipulate this further. But for now, we're fine with that. So the output, as you can see, the result, it says US. So now I'm going to say, if the country exists, output this data. So let's go ahead and actually test that step. All right, perfect. So let's go ahead and click on the table view here on the input, and we can take a look at this. All right, so from here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had 5 items that were coming in. Now we filtered it. We said that if the country doesn't exist, output this data. And as you can see, now we have 4 items because this item, this Zafat Bibelbrox, it doesn't have country, therefore it did not output that. So now if we get out of this, now you can see that there's data that came in, and it's kind of hard to see, but there's data that came in from true, and then also the data that came in from false. So if I just add something else to that, we don't have to add anything to it. I'm just gonna quickly show you that this will further show, and I can move this around here. And let's go ahead and add one more. Move this around here. So now you have these conditions that are being split. This data is being split. So now let's go ahead and test this step again. If I click on play, now you can see that 5 items came from this node, 5 items came from this node, and now you have 4 items that went to our true statement or our true route, and 1 item that went to our false route. So this is how you can manipulate and test or change the data that's coming in based on these different nodes that come in. And now I can do something with the data that's coming out from this node right here. I can add further nodes to it to be able to change it. And same thing with here. This will be completely separate, right? Because now I can do different things with the data that's coming in from the output of this particular node. Okay? All right, well, hopefully that gave you kind of a further understanding of how these nodes work and how you can manipulate the data based on the different filters you want to apply, or the different nodes that you can add to these things that you can further manipulate and change. In this step-by-step tutorial, we're going to build a very powerful agent that will have the ability to scrape and extract real-time data from popular search engines like Yahoo, Google, Bing, Baidu, and others. This is going to be very simple to build, but this will be a good introductory video on how to build AI agents with n8n. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm in my workflow. Once you log in, go to your workflow and create a new workflow. I'm going to add the first step as a chat. So our trigger is going to be chat because, again, we're building this AI agent that's going to act like Perplexity, meaning that it will have access to this real-time data. So the way we're going to interact with it is via chat. So let's go ahead and add the first step as chat. So you can either click here on the top right-hand corner here. So I'm just going to go ahead and first add first step. And then on the right hand side, on the bottom, again, these are all the triggers. You're going to come down and click on chat message. We're going to leave everything as it is. All right, so now it says when chat message received. So I'm going to click on this plus button and come down here, go to advanced AI and go down here and select, oh, actually it's right on top right here. So I'm just click on AI agent. Okay, we're going to leave everything as it is. Again, we're going to say take from previous node automatically, and this is connected to our chat. So that's our trigger. So we're going to leave everything. Again, if you want to change the name here, same thing, you have the ability to change the name on top, but I'm going to leave it as AI agent. All right, so I'm going to click outside of this. All right, cool. So let's attach now our corresponding tools, memory, and chat model. So for chat model, I'm going to use OpenAI, but you're more than welcome to use whatever large language model you have access to. But one thing to remember, if you're using a large language model, you have to have an API account and you have to have some money on that API account. Again, I've only put like $5 on my OpenAI and I've used it a ton, and it's more than enough. But you have access to Grok, you have access to Anthropic, Olama, which is integrated with Meta's large language model Llama. So you can use that, or the obviously OpenAI's chat model. So I'm going to use OpenAI chat model. Here, the first thing you're going to do, if your account is not connected, this will give you it will show you like a little error message. So you have to connect your account. If you're not familiar with connecting this, so what you're going to do is click on your create new credentials. And here's where you'll attach your API key and your organization ID. The good thing about n8n is that it actually gives you setup guide on the right hand side right here, and it has a link to the doc as well. So if you click on this link, it will take you directly to the docs where it gives you a really comprehensive guide on how to create or attach the credentials for whatever tool you're using. And in this case, attaching your API account, OpenAI's API account. And again, you can go to your OpenAPI documentation here, and this will take you to that link where you can log in. And once you log in, you can go to your API page and grab your API keys and come back and attach it right here. And again, on the right hand side, you can see it gives you a little summary of how you can do this by logging into your account. Open your API keys to create API key, enter the organization ID. If you belong to multiple organizations, then that's where this organization ID would come into play. But for now, you know, just attach your API key. All right, so once you do that, you're gonna come back and your OpenAI account will be attached. And since I've already done that, it's there. So now I get to choose my model. So I'm gonna use GPT-4 because I wanna have the most powerful model. And obviously you have lots of options here. If you wanna further customize your GPT-4, again, you can add things like the sampler temperature. You can increase or decrease this temperature. And if you're not familiar with the temperature of how large language models work, again, try to Google it because I don't want to go through that explaining right now. But anyway, so we're going to leave everything as it is. And we're going to click outside. And as you can see now, our OpenAI chat model is attached. Let's zoom in a little bit. There you go. Okay, so now the next step, we're going to add our memory, of course. So you're going to click on memory here, and we're going to choose our Windows buffer memory. The buffer memory, the easiest way to put this is it gives your AI agent access to previous data while you're chatting with it. So it stores the memory in the Windows buffer, meaning it can have quick access to your previous information, and it allows it to reference and remember the past interactions and the past chat history that you have done with that particular model. But anyway, so I'm just going to click on Windows buffer memory, and again, you don't have to do anything. You just click outside of it, and now you have this attached. So I'm going to bring this over here. All right, so for tools, the first tool I always add is a calculator. So you're going to click on tools, and you're going to come down here and click on calculator. So what the calculator does, again, you don't have to really do anything here to change the parameters or setting, but a calculator allows your AI agent to perform any mathematical operations while you're chatting with it. So if you're chatting with it and the AI agent needs to access or have the skills to do some kind of a mathematical operations, then that's where the calculator comes in. I always add this tool just so it's there even if I don't need it. So all right, so that's going to be our first tool. The second tool, I'm going to directly attach my SERP API directly to this AI agent. And the way to do that is if you come down, one of the tools that n8n is already integrated with is called SERP API, and it says Google search on the side. But again, you have I'll show you in a little bit what SERP API is. I'll explain a little bit and why this is a good integration to have. So I'm going to click on SERP API. All right, so here again, you have to have your credential to connect with. I got rid of my credentials so I could create this live in this video. So let's go ahead and do that, and I'm going to walk through step by step. So I'm going to come here, click on create new credentials. And again, same thing, we have to go ahead and add our API key. And I can click on this open docs right here, and this will take me through the step-by-step guide on how I can create an API key and attach. But it's a very simple process. So what I'm going to do is go to, you're going to go to serpapi.com. So this is their website, serpapi.com. And as you can see right up front here, let me zoom in a little bit. As you can see, they have several integrations with several languages, but the documentation, so as you can see, all of these documentations they have access to. Things like, obviously, most of it is Google related because they have access, since Google being the largest search engine in the world, they have all these APIs that they have access to, but they have access to things like Baidu, Bing, DuckDuckGo, Yahoo, eBay, YouTube, Walmart, I mean, even Home Depot. But anyways, this just shows you that this has a huge amount of knowledge that this SERP API has access to. And therefore, once you connect the SERP API to an AI agent, that's why I was mentioning in the introduction of this video that you're essentially creating a perplexity, meaning that you will have the most updated information because it's all coming from these popular search engines. And the beauty about SERP API is that it's not limited to pre-trained data that a lot of these large language models like ChatGPT or even Perplexity and Llama are all trained upon, because obviously they have to be trained on a base model. And sometimes in the case of ChatGPT, for example, that data is limited to a certain amount of time. And I know they say they have access to the internet, but the information that you get from ChatGPT, for example, on things that require access to real-time information from the internet is unfortunately not accurate all the time. So that's why things like SERP API becomes so relevant. And another advantage of having your agent access the or get connected to SERP API is not only does it provide you the most real data, but it also has access to data like organic searches or paid ads that Google or these other search engines already run, right? So that's what makes it very, very different compared to these existing pre-trained large language models. All right, so that's a little bit about SERP API. So let's go ahead and register for our account. So I'm going to click on register. All right, I'm just going to sign up with Google. All right, I'm going to click on sign up with Google. I'm going to give it access to my account. It's good to go. All right, I'm signed in. So let's go ahead and subscribe. So they have several, I forgot to mention about their pricing. Okay, so they have several plans. Right now, I'm on the free plan, and that's all you need, to be honest. But just quickly, so here are their different plans they have available. So if you want to, if you are doing 5,000 searches a month, then you're going to get on developer, production, big data. But the free account gives you 100 searches a month. And in our case, that's good enough because I'm just building this AI agent for this demo purposes anyway. But go ahead and sign up for your free account. And so when you come here, just make sure you're clicking on that free plan, and I'm going to click on subscribe. Let's go ahead and do, this thing is so annoying. All right, I need to verify my email. All right, confirm email. Email has been confirmed, sweet. Oh, I forgot, we need to verify the phone. So I'm just gonna add a phone number here and verify this. All right, so now I have my account. I don't know why I'm so zoomed in here. There you go. All right, so now I am in my account, and as you can see on the top here, it says your planned usage for this month, 100 searches. So, and the left-hand side, again, I don't even have to add a credit card, so that's good to go. Okay, so now let's go ahead and grab our API key. So you're gonna come on the left-hand side here and click on API key. And here's my API key. You can always regenerate an API key, which is what I'm gonna do, because after this video, I'm gonna delete this and regenerate it, and you should do that too. Don't share your API keys with anybody. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this API key, and we're gonna come back to our n8n account and paste it right here. And click on save. It says credentials successfully created. All right, cool. So we got connected. You can add properties. So for example, if you want to specify this to the results to a country, to a device, or you can have an explicit array that you want to add. So all of that option is available for you. Like I said, you can do it even with the country. So like if you want to have, you limit the search results just to US or some other country, you could do that. And again, this gives you that optionality that things like ChatGPT or other large language models don't have, right? Because they're trained on massive amounts of data that are not specific. But with connecting to SERP API, you can actually limit to different options, and you can add these things like, and even you can actually limit it to a Google domain, right? So if you only want to have access to google.com's search results, you can specify that and have it just be Google domain. And if you want to, for example, have it in the US or just explicitly train it for English, you can add all these parameters that will give you more of specific data that you're looking for, right? So then this is what makes this AI agent so great, because you can add all these parameters that normally you're not capable of if you're just using things like Perplexity or ChatGPT or Anthropic. So for now, I'm just gonna leave it as it is. Let's just get rid of these and let's test it out. And we can always come back and test it later on to see if we can limit it to a certain country. All right, so we're good to go here. Let's go ahead and test this. I'm gonna come and save this here. It's always good to save. Okay, so let's go ahead and test this. I'm going to click on chat here. So for the prompt, I'm going to try to use something, a prompt, or ask it something that's going to be relevant to the most updated information that a search result will have access to versus things like ChatGPT, right? Okay, so let's say, what are the best restaurants? Actually, what are the top rated restaurants in San Francisco, let's say. So this should be able to pull up the most recent rated restaurants, right? Because it should have access to Google's search results and all these other search engines that will provide the most updated information. All right, there you go. So it provided the top restaurants. And to be honest, I kind of agree with this because, you know, I live near San Francisco, so these restaurants are very popular. And as you can see, you know, this gives it on the right hand side, this gives you that log. So initially the AI agent went and updated the Windows buffer memory, used OpenAI chat model, and used SERP API, right? And the response, as you can see, came from SERP API, and it updated, or it used ChatGPT and updated the memory again. So as you can see, this gives you really up-to-date information that something like a ChatGPT won't have, right? So let's go ahead and see maybe today's weather. That's a good way to check too. What is the weather like today in San Francisco? And I can confirm this on my phone to make sure that it is accurate. So it says 65 degrees. Yep, it's 64, 65 degrees. Perfect. All right. So, all right. Well, hopefully this gave you an idea of how to build this simple AI agent. On the next tutorial, I'm going to create an AI agent that will label and organize all incoming emails into our inbox. So stay tuned for that one. I will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. We will build a really useful AI agent that will automatically label all of our incoming emails in our inbox. This is going to be actually very useful because anybody can use this to organize their mailbox. This agent will be able to automatically recognize the content of the emails that are coming in and automatically label them according to our predefined labels that we have in our Gmail account. All of the labels will be color coded, so that way our inbox is nice and organized. We're going to utilize the text classifier node on n8n, which is basically an instant of LangChain. Again, if you're not familiar with these terms, don't worry. I'll walk through step by step and explain everything so that we have a good understanding of how this works, and therefore you'll be able to build your own AI agent that will be equivalent or similar to this for your own purpose. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so as always, we'll start on our workflow, and you'll come here and we'll click on add workflow. So this time we're going to remove our when clicking test, because we're going to provide our own trigger, which is going to be a Gmail trigger. So that's going to be the first step. So let's go ahead and add our first step. I'm going to click on this button right here, and I'm going to look for Gmail. Click on Gmail, and we're going to use a trigger. I mean, there's lots of actions here, but we're not going to use that for now. We're going to use that towards the end when we're labeling our account, but we need to start on message received. So this is going to be our trigger, right? So if you don't have a credential, let's go ahead and add that. I have already 2 credentials, but I'm going to walk through step by step. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new credential. So there's a step-by-step guide that n8n provides, and if you click on Open Docs, it will take you through the step-by-step on how to do that, but I'm just going to quickly walk you through. So on the right-hand side, I'm going to click on Google Cloud here. You need to have a Google Cloud account. Once you create your account, if you don't have it already, you're going to come and click on Console. And you're going to come here and click on a new project. So you're going to create a new project. Obviously, I have several here, so that's why my drop down shows all these different projects, but yours is going to look blank. So you're just going to click on new project. You're going to say, and you're going to name your project. So I'm going to do n8n test 3. Organization, leave as no organization. Click on create. So now it's going to create your organization or your project. And then once you are done with that, you have to make sure that you are on the correct project. Again, if you have several projects, you're going to make sure that you're on the right one. But if this is your first project, then don't worry about selecting your correct project. It will automatically go to that project. So I'm going to click on my project, n8n test 3. So now we're going to click on API and services. All right, once you're here, you're going to come down and click on OAuth consent screen. So if this is your first time, you need to make sure you create a OAuth consent. So for the user type, if you have a Google Workspace account, you're going to click on internal. But if you have a personal, you're going to click on external. So I'm just going to click on external, click on create. App name, you can name a app here. So I'm just going to do n8n test 3. For the support email from the drop down, this will automatically pull up your email. So just select your email. Leave the logo as it is. The app domain, you don't have to worry about it. And here for authorized domain, you need to click on add domain. And you're going to add n8n.cloud. All right, so that's done. Developer contact information, select your email. Click on save and continue. Don't worry about these. Save and continue. Again, save and continue for test users. For summary, back to dashboards. So now we're pretty much done with creating our OAuth consent stream. So now here's an important step. Make sure you're clicking on publish app. Otherwise, it's going to give you an error when you're going to log into your account. So you're going to click on push to production and confirm. It says verification not required, which is good to go because again, we're using our own n8n account. So we're sure that it's verified already. Okay. So now once you're done here, you're going to come to the library and you're going to search for your Gmail API. So I'm going to search for Gmail API. Gmail API. You're going to click on enable. All right, so that's done. So now we're going to go to our credentials. We're going to click on create credentials. And you're going to select OAuth client ID. Application type, it's going to be web application. Name of the client name, you're going to do n8n test 3. Again, you can name whatever you want. So test 3. Here's the important part. In the bottom here where it says authorized redirect URIs, you're going to click on add URI. You're going to go back to your account. You're going to copy this callback URI and you're going to paste it. That's it. You're done. So you're going to click on create and you're pretty much done. So as soon as you click on your create, this is going to pop up with your client ID and your client secret. You're going to copy the client ID, go back, paste it here. You're going to copy your client's secret, go back and paste. And now that sign in with Google appears. So you're going to click on sign in with Google and this little pop-up window is going to show up. It's going to say choose the account. So choose your account. And this is where the Google says it hasn't verified this app. So don't worry about this. Just click on advanced and you're going to click on go to n8n.cloud. You're going to select all of this and you're going to continue and you're pretty much done. As you can see in here, it says account connected. All right, so let's go back. Once you go back, your account is going to get connected. Mine, because I already have several accounts now, this Gmail account shows up. But I'm going to go ahead and actually delete some of this because I already have a ton in there. Let me get rid of this. Go back. Let me get rid of this too. All right, perfect. There you go. So you're going to select your account. All right. So for the poll times, so this is you have several options when it comes to, this is basically trying to monitor your inbox. So you can monitor your inbox every minute, every hour, every day, whatever you prefer. And this is for when you actually activate this workflow. So that way it's automatic and it will always monitor your email. I will leave it at every minute and then later on I'll show you exactly what this means. Okay, so for the event, we're gonna select message received. You don't have a lot of options. And at the bottom, make sure you click on this because if you leave this as simplified, it's not gonna get the most proper details. It's not gonna provide the most proper details. So therefore, just make sure this is not selected. For the filters, don't worry about this for now. We'll filter our own using our text classifier. Okay, so we're pretty much done at this point. So let's go ahead and fetch a test event. Yeah, this is to make sure that your node is working. And as you can see, this looks like it's good to go. All right, cool. So for the next step, we're gonna add our text classifier agent. So you're going to click on this plus button right here. You're going to go to advanced AI. And in the bottom, as you can see, there are several options. We're going to select that text classifier. So this is an instance of LangChain. So let me quickly explain what that means. So in simple terms, LangChain is a framework that's designed to help developers or anybody build an application that leverages large language models like ChatGPT or Llama or other different models. And the goal of LangChain is to make it easier to integrate these large language models into different tools, applications, and workflows. So it just makes the usage of large language models very, very simple. So in this instance, our text classifier node is a instance of LangChain, which basically utilizes a large language model like OpenAI. In our case, we'll attach our OpenAI large language model to be able to classify a text and process it and label it into something different. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to grab all of the data that's coming in from our Gmail trigger and use this instance of LangChain to connect it to the OpenAI model and classify and label these texts accordingly. So let's go ahead and do that. So that's kind of like an overview of what this instance of LangChain does. So first, what we need to do is we need to figure out what text we're classifying, right? And this text is going to be coming in from our Gmail trigger, right? So therefore, the text to classify, we're going to go ahead and make sure you're in schema, and we're going to grab our text, which is going to be the body of the email, because we want to make sure that our classification occurs from the body of the email and not the subject or anything else. Because, you know, if somebody's sending you a lengthy email, you want to make sure that this text classifier goes through and analyzes the body of the text, the full body of the text, understand what this text is about or what this email is about, and therefore provide the proper label that we're going to categorize in a little bit. Okay, so from the schema, we're going to come down and grab our text right here. So, you know, minimize the headers and everything else so that way it's easier for you to locate this. So we're going to come down here on text and we're going to grab this and just drag it here. So this is going to convert it into JSON.text. Again, inside these curly brackets, these are all the JavaScript code. But again, we don't have to worry about it because we're just using this schema to just drag and drop. That's it. Okay, so the next step is to add our categories. And this is exactly where we will add our labels. But before we do that, let's go ahead to our email account, right? So this is where you're going to be creating your labels first. So let's go ahead and create our predefined labels. And this could be dependent on what you're doing, whether it's your business or your personal account. You can create whatever kind of labels you want. But for mine, I'm going to go ahead and create several labels. The first one, I'm going to create a label that's sponsorship. And again, these are all of the email inquiries that are coming in my account for my YouTube channel for sponsorship. So I'm going to make sure that I identify the body of the emails that are coming in and make sure that if it says anything related to sponsorship, that label gets automatically added. And we'll do that in that category section right here in a little bit. But let's go ahead and create all of our labels first. So another label I'm going to add for collaboration. I'm going to add one for business inquiries. Okay. And I'm going to add one more and just call it others. So this is going to be all of the emails that are not classified or labeled as these three. I'm just going to say others. All right, so now that's done. Let's go ahead and actually color code this. So if you come to the right hand here and you just say label color. So for business inquiries, I'm going to choose, let's say, this green one. And you could always add your own custom color. So if you go here, you can add a custom color. You can add the background color and the text, but it doesn't matter. I'm just going to use this predefined ones. All right. So for collaboration, I'm going to do orange. For others, I'll just leave it as that. And then for sponsorship, let's go ahead and label this as this green color. Okay, perfect. All right, so we got our labels now on our email account. Now we're going to go back to our n8n workflow. So here, this is where we add our categories. So the first category is going to be the sponsorship category. So I'm just going to click on add category and we're going to do sponsorship. You can just say sponsorship inquiries. For the description, I'm going to say emails that offer or inquire about sponsorship deals from YouTube channel, blah, blah, blah. And again, you can always maximize this and take a look at this. All right, so that's that. And you can use ChatGPT or something to come up with these descriptions because you want to make sure that you have really good description here. So that way your text classifier can properly understand and capture all of those important details that are inside the email. So that way it can distinguish between these different categories that you're putting in. So make sure your description is really thorough. And again, that's depending on what category you have. All right, so that's done. So I'm going to add another category and I'm going to say collaboration with companies. Okay, so for the description for this category, I'm going to say emails from AI companies or related businesses that are interested in collaborating on projects, tutorials on content creation for the channel. So you can see it's very thorough because we want to make sure that our AI agent is properly, or this text classifier is properly classifying and adding the proper categories. Okay, so the next one I'm going to say business, actually let's do general business inquiries. Okay, I think I spelled that wrong. Yep, inquiries, there you go. So for this one I said emails that pertain to general business related topics not specifically related to sponsorship or collaboration, such as inquiries about the channel, requests for information, and other miscellaneous business communication. So that's good. And the last one, I'm just going to say others. And then a description, I'm going to say all other emails that do not meet the description of the previous labels. Okay, so we're pretty much done with all our categories. Again, you can add whatever categories depending on what you're trying to do. So once you're done with that, here, this is a little bit of an important step. I think there's something going on with this particular node that if you don't select this option for system prompt template and just, you can leave this as it is, but make sure that you select this and this gets activated. Otherwise, it's going to give you an error that the node does not recognize the proper parameters. So make sure you're selecting that. Okay, so let's go ahead and test this step. I'm going to click on test step. It says a model subnode must be connected. Oh, I forgot to connect this. All right, so let's go ahead and connect the model first to this, right? So as you can see right here, all of our categories have been established here. So now let's go ahead and attach a large language model to this. So I'm going to click on large language, or click on the model and grab our OpenAI chat model. Create your account. If you don't have already an account, go ahead and select that and create your credentials by adding your API keys. I'm going to select GPT-4 Mini because I've noticed that GPT-4o is very expensive when it comes to API calls. So that's good to go. All right, so now let's go ahead and double check this. First, let's go ahead and send an email so that way we can make sure that this is, because again, this is monitoring all of the incoming emails that are new. So let's go ahead and do that. So for the subject, I'm going to say partnership for content. We're not monitoring the subject, so it's not going to matter. What this classifier is monitoring is the body. So we got to make sure that we put the proper text here to be able to categorize this. So I'm going to go ahead and add, hi, would love to sponsor your next video on a no-code automation. We believe our product aligns perfectly with your audience. Let's discuss the details. So this is particularly an email that's for sponsorship purposes. So our systems should automatically recognize this and label this as sponsorship right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and send this. I'm going to go to my inbox. So I sent this email right now. As you can see, it's just showing inbox. And again, that's because I'm using this search. There's no label on it, right? So let's go back to our workflow. So now all of this is done. Let's go ahead and test this step, and it should be able to recognize that a new email has come. And there you go. So as you can see right now, let's double check to make sure that the email came through. Hello, we're interested in sponsoring your upcoming tutorials. Please share. All right, that's good. So let's see what it did. We want to make sure that the label is properly done as, all right, there you go. You see, it says in sponsorship inquiries branch, one item. Okay, so that looks good. All right, so now let's go ahead and add another node that will automatically label our email that's coming in our Gmail account, right? Because right now this is just classifying it, but there's no way for it to label that email. So therefore we're going to add another node to this, a Gmail node, so that way it has access to our email and therefore is able to label that. So let's go ahead and click on the plus button here. I'm going to search for Gmail, and this time we're gonna go to message actions and we're gonna say add label to message, right? So we're gonna click on this. Here you want to make sure you're in the, again, you're selecting your proper Gmail account. The resource is going to be the message, not the label. This is going to be the message that's coming in, and the operation is going to be adding a label and the message ID. Okay, so this is where we need to grab our message ID from our text classifier, right? So if you take a look at the schema here, again, all you have to do is just grab this ID and put it here. So now the label name or ID, we need to identify which label is this going to, and this is where this node is going to have access to your Gmail account, and therefore it should be able to have all of the labels listed here. So let's go ahead and select our sponsorship. There you go, right? Because this is our sponsorship node. All right, that's good. Okay, so we're pretty much done here. Let's step outside and drag this here. Let's add our other labels. So I'm going to click on the collaboration tab, same thing. Actually, instead of that, a shortcut is just to copy this and duplicate. There you go. Grab this. Give myself some room here. Double click. Add label, JSON.id, you're going to leave it as it is. And this time, instead of sponsorship, this is going to be for collaboration. Okay, that's good. Make sure you're attaching the correct category to the label that you have here. Okay, otherwise it's gonna have an error. Okay, let's try this again. I'm gonna go ahead, duplicate. That's good. This is going to be for general business inquiries. Okay, so I'm going to say, let's select our business inquiries. That's done. And the last one, I keep forgetting. The last one is going to be for others. Let's connect this to others. There you go. That's done. To organize this better, or to make sure that we're properly labeling this, I like to rename these nodes so that we understand what's going on. So let's go ahead and rename these. So I'm going to click on this. This is going to be for our sponsorship. Okay, rename out. That's good. This one is for our collaboration. Rename. Done. This one is going to be our business inquiries. Rename. Done. This one is going to be others. Perfect. Done. Okay, so all of that is good to go. So now let's go ahead and actually test this thing out. So this is the first one. As you can see right here, it says one item. So this is the message that we just sent right here. Partnership for, I misspelled partnership, I said. But anyway, so this is the one that was supposed to be for sponsorship. And this already got executed. That's why it says one item. So let's go ahead and test this out. So I'm going to click on test step. This should label this email in my Gmail account as sponsorship now. So let's go ahead back to our account. I'm going to go ahead and refresh this. And there you go. So now, as you can see, the sponsorship label has been attached to this email that came through. All right, perfect. So that worked. Let's go ahead and test the others too, because I want to make sure that all of this is working. So let's go ahead and send another email for collaboration this time. So I'm going to go ahead and type for the subject. I'm going to say AI tool partnership. Hi, we're launching a new AI tool and would like to collaborate with you on a demo video. Are you interested? Okay, so that's clearly a partnership email, right? So our tool should automatically recognize that and should label it as collaboration this time. So let's go ahead and test this workflow again. So I'm just going to click on test workflow. So if I click on this time it should come here. And perfect, there you go. So now it says one item, collaboration. This went through. So let's go back to our email and refresh the page. And perfect, there you go. So this time it says AI tools partnership. Hi, we're launching a new AI tool. Would like to collaborate with you on a demo video or interested. So it correctly labeled it. So let's go ahead and test the other ones too, because I want to make sure, like I said, everything is working. So this time what you can do is, instead of testing the workflow, if you just click on inactive here, so this will activate this workflow, meaning this will automatically monitor your inbox every minute and therefore automatically label all these different emails that are coming through. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna send another email. This time it's going to be for business inquiry. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm interested in learning more about your services and pricing. Could you provide more information? So again, this is clearly a email that has the body for business inquiries, right? So because our n8n workflow is already live, so it should be able to automatically label this. I mean, it's going to take a minute or so, because obviously here our trigger is saying that it's going to monitor our Gmail account every minute. So therefore, it should take, oh, there you go. It came through. So it says, and it correctly labeled this as business inquiry, right? Inquiry about your channel. Hi, I'm interested in learning more about your service and pricing, blah, blah, blah. All right, perfect. So again, this is live right now. So let's go ahead and try one more, because we want to make sure that if it doesn't meet any of these categories, it should be able to label it as others. So let me go ahead and type another email. Just wanted to say thank you for your tutorials. They have been really helpful. So I'm going to click on send. All right, the message is sent. So now, like I said, we'll just wait, and it should come through, and it should automatically label this as others, because like I said, it doesn't meet the category for any of these other three. Therefore, it should label this properly as others. So let's go ahead and wait a little bit. All right, there you go. Oops, it said business inquiries. That's a wrong label. Let's see what we did here. Maybe wait a minute. Let's see what we did wrong here. So if I test the workflows. All right, so let's go ahead and click on this. And see, this is where I made a mistake. So it's the label name, I put business inquiry. This should have been others. So if we go back, and where's others? Right here. There you go. That looks good now. Okay, let's try this again. So this time it should, let me test the workflow. Should go here. Perfect, that worked. Let's go back. Let's refresh. All right, great. There you go. I mean, the reason why it has two labels is because it already labeled this as business inquiries, because we made a mistake there. So let's go and get rid of that. Go back. This time, let's try it again. Let's try it again. I just wanted to say thank you for your tutorials. They've been really helpful, blah, blah, blah. It's good. Click on send. This time it should label it properly, because again, our mistake was earlier I had put business inquiries for this other label in the category. So let's go ahead and wait for that to come through. So let's go ahead and refresh, and perfect, there you go. So it worked now. So as you can see, all these labels are now working according to what we identified or what we categorized here. Self-hosting has a lot of advantages. First, the fact that you will have complete control over your data. So if you're worried about privacy issues, or if you're worried about leaking your data to third-party apps and you don't want to use the cloud account, so self-hosting will be a great option for you. So Docker is actually the preferred method by the n8n community and a lot of other folks, because it gives you a lot of advantages and control over how you can run and self-host it along with other applications. So let me quickly explain what Docker is for those of you who are not familiar with it. If you're already familiar with it, please feel free to skip this, but I just want to quickly introduce what Docker is and why this is so beneficial when it comes to self-hosting n8n. So essentially Docker is just a platform, and it's extremely popular platform in the developer community that allows you to package application and all of their dependencies into one standardized unit, which they refer to as containers. So you could think of it as a tool that packages all of your application like n8n and all of its dependencies, whatever it needs, all into one single unit called the containers. Again, n8n and all other applications have a lot of dependency that it comes with, such as libraries, system tools, and settings. So what Docker allows for you is to put all of that in one container or in one unit, and then you can basically deploy this and run it consistently across other platforms. So that way, if you want to self-host yourself in a cloud account in a cloud provider, then you can do that, and it will behave exactly just like it would be in your local machine. So when it comes to n8n and self-hosting, the reason why Docker is so beneficial is because it really simplifies the process of getting n8n up and running, and because it bundles all of the necessary components into one package. So that way you don't need to manually configure anything or worry about any kind of issues or environments that you might run into. So that's what has a huge advantage when it comes to the simplicity and the process of running n8n on your local computer. And then another big advantage is the portability, meaning that when you deploy Docker in other environments, so let's say if you want to deploy it on another hosting platform, what this will do is will make sure that it consistently behaves the way it will behave in your local computer. And then another thing is the isolation of each container, meaning that these containers run independently of each other, meaning that if you have several operations or several applications, n8n would operate in its own isolated environments. And again, this removes any conflicts or with other applications that might be running. So that's what gives it a huge advantage, ensuring it's really stable and reliable. And another big advantage is the scalability. So as you scale your operations in n8n, Docker really will allow you to scale and deploy multiple containers based on what your needs are, right? So this really makes it simple to handle increased workloads. And if you're creating complex workflows and automation, this really allows you to be able to scale as you go without the need to configure or manually change any of the settings. So that was kind of the overall gist of what Docker is and how that helps you when it comes to self-hosting n8n. So let's go ahead and get started and install Docker application, the desktop application on our computer, and then we'll go ahead and run n8n through the Docker application. So the first thing you need to do is you need to go over to docker.com and you need to download it for your machine. So whatever you're using, whether you're using Windows, Linux, or Mac, make sure you're downloading the correct version. One important thing, if you're using Mac, make sure the newer ones, especially the M1, M2, M3 chips, make sure you're downloading this version and not the Intel chip, because this is not going to work otherwise. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on this. It's going to download my application. So once you do that, you're going to go to your downloads and then double click on docker.dmg. And once you do that, it's going to ask you a few questions to install. And once you install that, then you can go over to your applications and then initiate Docker. I've already done that. So I'm going to go ahead and open the Docker desktop application. All right. So once you do that, this is what it's going to look like. So this is their desktop application. It has a really nice user interface. Let me get rid of that. All right, let me maximize this so that way you can see this really well. All right, perfect. So this is what the initial, it might give you some tour, but go ahead and skip that. But you will have containers, images, volumes, builds. We're going to focus on images and containers. Actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and create a folder so that way we can put all of our n8n data into that folder. So that way we can keep track of the data that we use. All right, so I'm going to go to my Finder. So go to your home page and right click new folder. And then we're going to call this n8n-data. All right. So right now the folder is empty. All right, we're good to go here. Okay, so let's minimize this. So now I'm gonna come to my images and we're gonna go ahead and click on search images to run. So here what we're gonna do is search for n8n io/n8n. I've already done that, but let's go ahead and do it. So we're gonna type n8n io/n8n. Okay, and the first one, as you can see right here, it says 100 million plus 293 stars. So make sure that you're downloading this image, because otherwise it's going to give you something. Not downloading, sorry, you're going to pull this. So make sure that you're on the correct one, and I'm going to click on pull. And once you click on pull, now as you can see, it's loading. So now this is going to pull all of that data into your local desktop app, and it will be saved under the images tab. And again, we'll take a look at that in a little bit. So now that you have the correct image download here, so now you can see here it says the size, and now on the right hand side here it says run. So for the first time when you click on run, we need to set a few optional settings. So once you click on run, it's going to open up this pop-up where it says run a new container, optional settings. So you're going to click on the right hand side here, you're going to put a container name, because otherwise it will select a random name. So I'm just going to say n8n container dash container, so that way I can recognize it. All right, so the host port, so this is where you want to host on your local computer what port, which in a little bit I'll show you what that means. But for now, just put 5678, and this will map this Docker container to your local port, so that way you can access it through your local machine. And again, like I said, in a little bit I'll show you how to do that. All right, so the volume, this is where you want n8n to store its data, so that way if the container is stopped or even it's deleted, then all of your data will persist. So this one, you're going to click on this three dots here, and you're going to go ahead and select the folder that you created, right? So earlier we went to our home page and created this folder called n8n-data. So you're just going to double click, select that, and click on open. So for the container path, you need to enter /home/n8n, and then /.n8n. And then, so what this does is this ensures that the data on your host machine is synced to n8n's directory inside the container of this Docker container. So this basically ensures that all of the data is saved in the correct area. Okay, that's good. Environment variable, this is optional. So if you want to do any kind of authentication, this is where you'll enter. So if you want to do that, you can go ahead and use ChatGPT to put in variables here, but I'm going to just leave it as it is. So now that we're done with that, all I have to do is click on run. And as soon as I do that, you can see now it brings us to the container tab, and it runs all this stuff. And then on the bottom, as you can see now, it says editor is now accessible via localhost 5678. And this is exactly what we typed earlier, like the port. So the 5678, which means that now on the port in your local machine, the port 5678, you'll be able to have access to n8n. So I'm just going to copy this and go to a new tab, come here on top and paste it. And there you go. So now you can set up your email account. So as soon as you paste that in your local machine, it will take you to the form where now you will have to set up a new username and password. And again, this has nothing to do with your cloud account, so therefore there is no migration here. So go ahead and enter your information. I'm gonna go ahead and enter mine. Okay, so once you do that, click on next. And now you have to just customize the n8n. It'll just ask you a few questions, go through it. Software as a service, review. I'm just gonna say whatever, it doesn't really matter. Myself, it's fine. Google, get started. All right. So now it presents you the blank workflows. And again, it's the same environment or the same user interface, just like if you were to access from your cloud account. You have your templates over here, you have your account, you have n8n, your credentials, and start from scratch means that now you can just jump into your workflow. And again, same thing, you have the ability to access everything from your local host here, your advanced AIs, AI agents, whatever you need, all of this will be accessed. One thing is, if you want to import your workflows from your cloud account, go to your cloud account, come to the top right hand corner here, and you're going to click on download, and then you can come back here and click on import from file, and then you'll just basically select that downloaded JSON file, and then that will import all of your workflows here. And then obviously you have to add your credentials, because it's not going to migrate over the credentials, because now you're using your local machine to run everything. And that's pretty much it. So if you already have a bunch of workflows on your cloud account, you can migrate them over very easily. All right, so now let's go ahead and actually stop this, so that way you see how that works as well. So now if you are done with your workflows and you want to stop the container that's running, all you have to do is come to the container, and then right here it says stop, click on this, and it says stopping n8n, as you can see in the bottom here, and it's stopped. And as you can see, now there's that option of play button that appears. So now if we go back to our local host and refresh this or enter this again, reload, now it says that this site can't be reached because obviously our n8n container is not running. So if you want to run it again, you'll come back, click on start, and now it says running, right? So go back to your tab and reload, and there you go. So that's kind of the beauty of kind of setting it up once for your account, so that way you're not going to be able to, you don't have to log in there again because we didn't set any kind of authentication. So this just makes the process really smooth. So on the next tutorial, what I'm going to do is go through setting up the self-hosted AI starter kit. So this is going to be basically similar to what we did earlier, but now we're going to use our command line because we'll be able to install everything within our local machine, including Ollama and Quadrant, which Ollama is a software that gives you the ability to run and interact with large language models that are open source, like Meta AI's Llama languages, on your local machine. We can actually download these large language models on our local machine, and through Llama we'll be able to interact with them. And then also Quadrant is another vector store database that you can self-host and be able to therefore interact with everything within your local environment. So we'll go ahead and do that tutorial next, because this will give you like an entire package for self-hosting your AI workflows. If you wanted to run AI locally and build amazing AI agents all from your machine, this tutorial is going to be for you. We're going to build this amazing AI agent that's going to utilize all open source AI tools, including the Quadrant Vector Store. That's an open source vector database. We're going to use several large language models with the Ollama platform, and we'll be able to interact with this AI agent using our chat model. We'll be able to upload our own documents and immediately interact with it using the vector database. This is going to be a great video. You're going to learn a lot about how all these tools connect with each other, all locally through your machine, so you can build really great agents. So make sure you stick around till the end, because this is going to be a very useful tutorial. All right, let's get started. All right, so first thing you need to do is head over to n8n's GitHub. It's github.com/n8n-io. You will scroll down and you'll come here and click on the self-hosted AI starter kit. So here they provide you all the guide depending on what machine you're using. So if you, for example, have an NVIDIA GPU, go ahead and follow this. But if you're using Mac, then go ahead and follow what I'm going to do down here, which I'm going to use because I have a Mac. So we're going to basically utilize this right here. My goal is always not to use any code at all, because obviously there's a lot of people who get a little intimidated when they see code. So that's why I try to keep it as low as possible. Therefore, we're going to mostly use the Docker desktop app to be able to download everything we need. But for this step, we have to just clone this GitHub repo. So all we have to do is copy that and come to our terminal here. And all you have to do is basically paste it. And this is going to download everything. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit. There you go. All right, so that got cloned. So now the next step is you just need to cd into that folder that got created. Okay, so I'm going to press enter. All right, so now we're inside that folder. Let me clear again. All right, great. So before we move to the next step, let me quickly pull up my desktop Docker app. So if you see right here, right now, I have no images here and no containers. So that way you can see that it's empty right now. And then as soon as we go through and enter this, we'll be able to see that all of those containers and images is going to show up on our desktop app. So this is always a good way to double check and make sure everything is getting loaded properly. All right, so now that we're inside this self-hosted AI starter kit, the next step is to be able to cd into it. We already did that. And now we just need to click on Docker, copy this one, go back to our terminal. And again, let me pull up the desktop app here so you can see it side by side, and paste. So Docker compose profile CPU app. This is going to run all of the different Docker containers that's required for this AI starter kit in your profile through your CPU. So you're just going to press enter, and now it's going to run and pull the different containers and images that are inside this, including the Ollama, Postgres, n8n, and then the Quadrant vector database as well. All right, perfect. So it looks like we got everything. As you can see on the right hand side, we got all the 4 images that was inside that starter kit. And on the containers tab, you can see right now it says the self-hosted AI starter kit, and includes the Quadrant, Postgres, Ollama, and n8n. Perfect. And then same thing on our terminal here. As you can see, it downloaded everything that we need, and right now it says localhost 5678. You can access this from there. Okay, perfect. So now we're pretty much done here. Okay, so now let's make sure everything is running. So if yep, it looks like everything is good to go here. Everything's running. So let's minimize this for now. We can copy this, or just go to localhost 5678. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm gonna say localhost 5678. If it's your first time, this is gonna pull up and ask you to sign up for an account. But if you have already logged in through this localhost before, then it's just gonna ask you to sign in. So I'm just gonna go ahead and sign in. Okay, you're gonna enter your email and password, and you're gonna sign in. All right, so now at my blank workflow here, so let's go ahead and change the name here to local AI kit. All right, so now the first step, we need to add a chat trigger. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna search for chat and chat trigger. Perfect. So here's one difference that we're gonna have compared to other AIs that I've built before. In this one, we're gonna give our chat the ability to upload files. So what you're gonna do is come on the options, click on add field, and you're gonna click on allow file uploads. So what this is gonna do, this is gonna give this chat the ability to add documents or add files from right here on the right hand side. As you can see, now we have this little like plus sign with a document there, because we will be uploading our own documents into the vector database through the chat model. And I'll explain that a little bit more. All right, so now that's done. All right, so the next step is going to be adding our vector database. So I'm going to search for vector. And as you can see right here, there's several vector databases, but the Quadrant vector store, so this is the one that we're going to utilize. So Quadrant vector store is a open source vector store that you can utilize. So if you go to their website, they show you all, you can see all the details. They have, you can click on pricing, and they have, as you can see right here, Quadrant Cloud starting at 0. So you can sign up if you want, but we're not going to worry about it because we've already installed Quadrant through our AI starter kit. But it just gives you a good overview of what this Quadrant vector store is and why it makes it different compared to other vector stores like the Pinecone vector store that I've used before. All right, so your credential is going to be automatically loaded here because of the fact that we're running everything on Docker, right? So therefore, it's going to have everything loaded there. For the operation mode, we're going to be inserting documents in this. So we're going to click on insert. And for our Quadrant collection, we're going to do by ID actually. And we need to go back and actually test this real quickly. So let's go ahead and attach this. Let me double check, click there. So now let's just go ahead and add a chat, okay? This is going to give me an error, but that's fine. I just want to showcase how to add this chat in there. So now as you can see on the left hand side, I have the chat message received. So what we need to do is we need to add our collection by the chat ID, because we need to provide the ability for a user to upload their own document through the chat window. So that's why we need to grab that session ID of that chat that's going to be inputted into this Quadrant vector store. Where before, for example, in my previous video that I did using the Pinecone vector database, I added a step before this with Google Drive where we would grab the document from the Google Drive and upload it into the vector store. But this, like I said, is going to be instantaneous, meaning that a user can upload a file themselves and it will get added to the vector store and then they can interact with it. All right, so once you grab that, that's good to go. So we're going to get out of this. All right, so now let's add the embedding and document loader to this. So you're going to click on embedding. So you have several options, obviously, to add the embeddings, but you can utilize the OpenAI, but that's not going to be local, of course. But the whole point of this video is to be able to utilize all local resources. So I'm going to use the embeddings Ollama. So again, same thing, your Ollama account will automatically get uploaded here because you're using since it's all part of the same container. So it's going to pre-populate everything for you. That's the great thing about this. When you're using this AI starter kit through your CPU, you don't have to worry about adding or connecting your new credentials. All right, so for the model, I've already uploaded embedded models in this. So in this account of mine, I already have these, but I'm going to show you exactly how to add a new embedded model from the Ollama platform, because obviously you cannot use chat model here. This has to be an embeddings model, right? So therefore we need to go ahead and add a new embedding. So let's say I want to add a new embeddings here. Obviously when you click on this account, if it's your first time, this is not going to show. So therefore I'm going to show you exactly how to add new models there. So let's go back to our Ollama. So if you just go to ollama.com, right? If you go to ollama.com and if you click on models here, this is going to show you all the models that are available. But again, we need to grab an embedding model. So you're going to come to the top and search for embedding models. Oh, I think I spelled that wrong. All right, perfect. There you go. So now you have several embedding models. There's this one that's very popular by Snowflake. Or you can, this is actually one of the most popular ones, this nomic embedded text. And in the bottom, as you can see, it says the nomic embedded text is a large context length text encoder that surpasses OpenAI's text embedding 8.2 and the embedding 3 small. So again, this is a very useful embedding model that you should utilize because it's not that large and it's very, very powerful. But let's go ahead, because I've already installed this on my Ollama. I'm going to show you something that I don't have that I can install. So let me see here. What do I have? So I got the MXBAI embedded large and then the nomic embedded text. So let's go ahead and add something different. Go back here. There you go. Okay, let's see. Let me add the Snowflake actually. There you go. This is a pretty good one, but that's pretty big. I don't want that. Let me add this 22 million parameter one. Okay. All right. So here's what we need to do. We need to copy this Ollama pull Snowflake Arctic embed, right? So I'm going to copy this. You can do this several ways. The coding way is to go to your Docker YML file. So if you go inside your n8n starter kit and open it in a text file, you can come to the Docker compose YML file. And right here, as you can see, it's only pulling the Llama 3.1, right? So you can actually add another line here that basically says Ollama pull Snowflake Arctic, and then you can rerun this. And that way it will actually download that model for you. But because like I said, I always want to focus on using least amount of code as possible. So let me go ahead and get rid of this. I'm going to show you the easiest way to do this is through your Docker desktop. So I'm going to open my Docker desktop. You're going to come to your containers tab if you're not already there. You're going to come and click on, as you can see right here, Ollama latest. This is running. So I'm going to click on the container for Ollama. You're going to go to exec right here, and we will pull that from here. So all you have to do is just paste it right here, press enter, and this is going to pull that embedded model or any other model that you want from your Ollama. You'll be able to basically do the same thing. Grab that code, make sure you're pulling it, and then just basically say Ollama pull, and whatever model you want to pull, you can add it here, right? So let's say I want to add another model here, right? Let's say I want to add a regular model. So for example, let me add something very, very small. All right, for example, let's say I want to add this Quinn 2 by Alibaba. So I want to add, let's say, this super small 0.5 billion parameter, right? So all I have to do is it says Ollama run Quinn 2b, right? So I'm just going to actually just copy this and go back to my desktop and say Ollama pull and just paste that model. Press enter, and now it's going to pull that large language model that exists inside the Ollama platform. So as you can see, it's like the easiest way to do this, because like I said, you can use and change the Docker file inside the starter kit, but that, that's going to require a little bit of coding, and if you're not familiar with it, then you're going to get lost. So this is the easiest way to do this. So now let's go ahead and double check here. So if I get out of this, double click on my embedding. Now, as you can see, I have access to that Snowflake Arctic embed 22 million parameter. And then also I added this Quinn 2.5 billion parameter. This wasn't there before, right? And you can double check, go back to the video and make sure these two weren't there. We just added it through that Docker. All right, so now let's go ahead and add our embedding document. So I'm going to click on that, click on default data loader. We're going to select the data type as binary. Load input all data, automatically detect. We're good to go there. We need to add a token splitter. So I'm just going to do a token splitter and have the chunk size be 550. Okay. And if you need more information about this, again, you can watch my previous video where I explain, the video that I made about Pinecone database where I explain these things in detail. Okay. So for now, I'm going to leave it at that. So let's go ahead now, select I forgot to select our embedding model. Yeah, just make sure. So I know we downloaded all this, but I kind of like this Nomic embedded text latest. This is the one that we looked at earlier that said that it's more powerful than OpenAI's embedded model. So I'm just going to select that. And it's a smaller one because I have my memory in my computer is not that great. So that works well. But again, you can select whatever you want. Okay, so now let's go ahead and test this thing out. So another great thing about Quadrant Vector Database is that you can actually check out the dashboard through your local host. And the way you find that is if you go to your Docker and your containers, Quadrant right here, it says it's running in 6333. So let's go ahead and do that. Go to localhost and we're going to do 6333/dashboard. So that's what you need. Make sure you're putting the /dashboard there. I'm going to press enter and there you go. So this is your collections right now. This dashboard is empty. There's no collections here because we haven't uploaded anything, but let's go ahead and do that. So now let's test this. I'm going to go to chat now and I'm going to upload a file. So I've downloaded this BTC white paper, the Bitcoin white paper, but you can do whatever you want. So I'm going to say what is the Genesis block, which is the original block in the Bitcoin white paper. So now if I press enter, so now what this is going to do, let me back out of here. Now it's going to split this and add this to the Quadrant Vector Database via this embeddings Olama model. So now that's what's happening right now. Once this goes through and completes, we will refresh this page and you'll see that a new collection would have been added. So let's just wait for this to process. If your computer is slow like mine, this might take a little bit, but if you have a computer that has a really good memory or if you're using a GPU, this is going to go a lot faster. But there you go. All right, perfect. So now as you can see, this went through and 13 item came out of here. So now let's go ahead and actually let me quickly first double check on this. Yep, and as you can see right now, this Bitcoin white paper that we just uploaded via our chat got converted into vector. And to double check this, now I'm going to refresh the page. And as you can see, we have our vector that got added here. Okay. All right. So that's perfect. So let's go back. Okay. So that step is done. Now let's go ahead and add our AI agent. So what I'm going to do is click on plus sign here, go to AI agent. So here, what we need to do is because there are two inputs. There's the Quadrant Vector Store input and the chat input. But we need to connect this to our chat input, right? Because we need to be able to interact with the user based on the chat. But we'll add a vector store retriever in this session to be able to have access to the vector store to our document that got uploaded in the first step. Okay. So let me go ahead and actually let's go ahead and add that first. So just agent, it's going to be not a tools agent. This time it's going to be a conversational agent, right? So I'm going to click on conversational agent. The prompt, you're not going to say take from previous node automatically because the previous node is a Quadrant Vector Store. What we need to do is say define below, and we're going to define the text, right? This is going to be coming in from our user from the first step from the chat input. So you're going to click on the input here and grab the when chat message received. You're going to go to JSON, and from here we're going to grab the chat input, right? Because we want to make sure that we're understanding what the user is asking. All right. So it says when chat message received .item.json.chat input. Perfect. So now we're good to go here. Let's go ahead and back out of this. So now let's add a chat model. So for chat model, we're going to add our Olama chat model. And here's going to be the difference. So earlier in the previous step, this step, we added our embedding. And as you can see here, let me go ahead and click. We added this nomic embedded text. But for this one, since this is a chat model, we need to be able to add our large language model. So you can do this Gemma 2B, you can do the Llama 3.1 latest, or you can do this really small one that I downloaded there, right? But let's go ahead and, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and select this Gemma 2B, okay? And we'll select the other ones later on too to test this out. Okay, so we're good to go there. All right, so now let's add, you can add a memory. So this is where you already downloaded the Postgres database through the AI starter kit, but I'm not going to utilize that, so I'm not going to add that here, but you can definitely add that. So I'm going to go ahead and utilize the tool. So now we need to add a vector store tool, right? Because we need to retrieve that information from the quadrant vector store. So go ahead and put a name here. So I'm just going to say file input. Okay. So the description, this is going to be the knowledge base to answer user questions, right? Because this is going to be the knowledge base that's going to be retrieved from the vector store. The limit you can leave at 4, that's fine. So now let's go ahead and add our vector store here. So the vector store is going to be the quadrant vector store, right? And this time it's going to again pre-populate already. It's going to retrieve documents this time, right? And then the quadrant collection is going to be by ID. So the ID, you're going to grab this. This is going to be our session ID. So this is very important. You're going to click on mapping, go to when chat is received, go to JSON, and you're going to grab the session ID here, right? Because this thing needs to match what's in our database right here. So if you go to your quadrant, this right here, this is what, let me click on that. So this is the session ID there that will match right here. As you can see, test OCF 28.7. Let me just double check. Test OCF 28.7. Yep, that's a good. All right, so that's good. So we're done with that. Now let's go ahead and add the rest of the stuff here. I'm going to add my vector store model. Let's just duplicate this actually. Copy, duplicate, and boom. Okay, that's good. But this time for this one, actually, I'm going to decrease the temperature, the sampling temperature to 0, because we want to make sure that it's giving us the accurate answer and not hallucinating. All right, so quadrant vector store. So the embedding, same thing. We're going to add our embedding, same thing. I'm going to duplicate this and connect this. All right, so we are good to go. Oh, one more thing I forgot here. So there's 13 items, as you can see, that's coming from this vector store. We want to make sure that we're processing this once and not like 13 times. So you're going to click on that, go to settings, and you're going to say execute once. All right, so make sure you do that step. Okay, perfect. So we're pretty much done. Let's go ahead and test this thing out and make sure it works. So I'm going to this time delete this and try this again fresh. So I'm going to add my BTC white paper here again. And I'm going to say this, ask the same question. What is the Genesis block, right? I'm going to press enter. So now, as you can see, this thing is working. Again, based on how fast your computer is, how fast your CPU is, how big the memory of your computer is, this thing might go a lot quicker. And it also depends on what kind of model you're using. So if you're using a really large model that's going to be very heavy on your computer, this whole process is going to be extremely slow. So you make sure you're using the correct model depending on what computer you're using. And there you go. So this step got executed. So 13 items were sent. Now the AI agent is processing this again, and this should be running once because that's what we put in the setting, right? Okay, as you can see, this step is complete. Now it's going to utilize the vector store tool and the Ollama chat model to be able to respond to our user's query via this AI agent. So that step is complete. Again, my computer is very slow. That's why this is taking so long. But usually if you have a faster, or if you're using an NVIDIA GPU, this is going to be super, super fast. All right, perfect. So it looks like everything went through. 13 items came out of here from the vector store, and everything got processed properly, and our AI agent spit out one item, meaning that's the response. So let's double check. So if I double click this, as you can see, it's giving us the output. The Genesis block is the very first block of the blockchain network. It's essentially the foundation upon which the entire blockchain system is built, which is correct. Okay, perfect. So that worked out. And we can actually see the logs here to make sure that this was done properly. So if we click on the AI agent, and right now this is showing the output. So let me pull this aside. And if I click on log, all right, perfect. So as you can see, all of the tools will utilize the Ollama chat model, the vector store tool, the quadrant vector store, embedding Ollama 1 and chat model and chat model. So this gives you that log of how this entire process works and what were the responses to come up with this reply for the user when they ask that particular question. All right, so looks like everything worked out great. Again, you can actually utilize, for example, an OpenAI. If you see that your computer is too slow, just go ahead and add OpenAI, because you can use the, oops, that's the wrong one, because you can use the API as well to be able to connect to a model like OpenAI. And I'm going to use, let's say, this small one, copy this, duplicate, padding, get rid of this, right? Go ahead and connect this to this. Same thing with the chat model. I'm going to utilize the OpenAI chat model. Let's say use GPT-4 mini. You'll see this will be a lot quicker. GPT-4 mini. Okay, so let's try this again. Let's add our Bitcoin white paper. All right, we're going to say what was the size of the BTC? What is the size of the BTC header? Let's see what this does. Oh, I got an error. Bad request, wrong input, vector dimension error expected. All right, that's actually a good error, because this is a good point right here. Because depending on what embedding you're using, it's going to have different dimensions, meaning that because earlier I was using that embedding from Ollama that we downloaded, so that therefore this has the different dimensions, meaning OpenAI uses a different dimension. But as you can see for the quadrant or collection here, let me go back. The size right here, it says 768, right? But our error says that the dimension expected dimension 768, but got 1536, because this is the dimension that comes out of OpenAI's embedding. So therefore we need to basically get rid of this. So you can now delete this. So now you don't have anything here. So now if we run this again, this should remove that error. Let me go ahead, add that up. All right, let's try this again. The size of BTC header is 80 bytes, which is actually correct. And as you can see on the right hand side, it used all of the correct nodes. And on the right hand side, again, same thing. You can see this, everything would utilize properly. And now when we go to our collections, refresh this, now you can see the size is 1536, right? So it just depends on what kind of embedding model you're using, and that will split the document into different vector sizes. So you want to make sure you're using, if you're changing the embeddings, you make sure to go ahead and delete that collection, because this is going to upload a new collection there. You can also, for this chat, you can also embed this publicly. So if you come here and click on make chat publicly available, you can actually copy this URL here, go to localhost, paste, whoops, again, these are good errors. So the reason why it's giving me that error, that code 404, is because we have to actually run this or make this active. So if you click on active, got it, go back, refresh this, and there you go. So now we can actually utilize this chat through the window here. So same thing, I can add my Bitcoin white paper here, and I can say, what is a block size? What is a BTC block size? I don't know if it makes sense, but why not? It's just to test it. All right, perfect. There you go. The block size of Bitcoin BTC refers to the maximum amount of data that can be contained within a single block in the blockchain. Okay, perfect. So as you can see, everything got executed properly, and you can actually check out the executions by clicking on all executions. Yeah, I gotta save this. Yep, there you go. And right here, these are all the executions. If I just go to this, is the latest one. If I click on view, and you'll see this one got successful, and the rest, it shows you the errors and the one that's went through or not. So this is a good way to see exactly what's going on behind the scene. So, the good thing is you can embed this chat if you have a business or something, or if you have a website, a personal brand, you can actually add this to your website and basically have this chat widget where then people can interact with their own document that they can upload depending on how, what your use case is. All right, well, hope you found this helpful. Again, this is a very cool way to run everything locally through your machine. And use all the open source model, because again, all of this is free, right? Because the quadrant vector database, that's free. We're locally hosting n8n on our machine, that's free. We're using all these local Llama embeddings, or we're using Ollama to be able to interact with all these local open source large language models. That's also free. So it's very, very powerful because it's combining all these tools together. So use your imagination to build something different and see how it goes. Let me know in the comments below if you run into any kind of questions or issues. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next one. In this video, I'm going to show you how to take a YouTube video, any YouTube video, and utilize n8n's community nodes to be able to take that YouTube video and convert it into transcripts, where then we'll be able to utilize several different AI agents and AI nodes and convert it and repurpose this video into a sales enablement tool, a social media repurposing tool, and also an AI agent that summarizes the content of that YouTube video. I'm going to utilize OpenAI's Dev Day video that they made an announcement of several products that they released as an example, but you can use any kind of video when it comes to a competitor analysis to be able to create battle cards for your sales team, so that way when they're talking to a prospect or a customer, they'll have this really great battle cards ready, where then they'll be able to utilize this to do objection handling, things like, hey, we saw the new model that you guys released for whatever product it is, and it seems too complicated, so you will have a proper answer based on the video that will be summarized using this AI tool. And we can also take the same video transcript and repurpose it into social media for different platforms like LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and individually post them. And on the third AI agent, we'll be able to take the video transcript and summarize it and send it to a nice written email to our internal teams, and also utilize our Slack node to be able to send that summary into our proper teams and channels. So this is going to be a very, very useful tutorial, because again, you'll be able to utilize this workflow and convert it into several use cases. If you're new to the channel, my name is Zubair. My YouTube channel and my school community AI workshop is all about building incredible AI agents using no-code tools like n8n. In my school community, you'll be able to get started from the introduction to n8n to all the way building incredible AI agents. And also you will have all the n8n templates for this particular workflow and all the previous and future workflows that I'll be building. And the great thing about our community is that you will be connected to like-minded individuals who are here to learn and are serious about building AI agents and automations for businesses and personal brands. I'll put the link in the description. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. All right, let's get started. All right, so the first thing is YouTube transcript is not a node that is natively integrated with n8n. This is a community node, and this is only available on if you are self-hosting. So let me show you, for example, if I have, this is my n8n cloud account. So let me resize this a little bit. So if I wanted to add, let's just do a trigger here. Let's say I wanted to add YouTube, right? So if I search for YouTube here, as you can see right here, it just says YouTube, and you can have all these operations that are available, but there is no category here, or there is no node that will give you a YouTube transcript just for copying and pasting the URL of a YouTube video. In order to do that, you have to go and install this YouTube transcript node, where you can just copy and paste, where you can just paste a link, YouTube video URL, and this will be able to convert this into a full-on transcript. In order to do that, you will come here on next to your username, and you'll click on these three dots and click on setting. Actually, no, I don't want to do that. Let me open another tab here. So you will come here and click on these three dots. Again, you have to be on a local host, or you have to host this locally in order to have access to this. Otherwise, this is not going to work. You'll click on these three dots. You'll click on settings. And then on the bottom right here, as you can see, it says community nodes. And again, for comparing this to our, if you're on the cloud account, let me go ahead and take a look here. If I click on this, click on setting, it's fine. You will see right here that community nodes does not exist on a cloud account. Okay, so just so you're aware, so you don't get confused. But anyways, so once you, and I know a lot of people are doing hosting this n8n locally, so you should be able to have access to this. But once you come over here, you're going to click on community nodes. I already have this YouTube transcript installed, but if you want to install a new node, a community node, all you have to do is click on install, and here's where you will paste the npm package name. How you're going to get this is you will click on this browse, and this will take you to the npm package page where n8n community node package will already be pre-populated, and this is where you need to search for whatever package you're looking for. So for example, on the bottom, as you can see, these are all the community packages that are available via this npm package, right? But you want to make sure again that it includes this n8n community node package in advance, because otherwise it's not going to. So for example, let's say if I search for YouTube, you can see this one, this is just a YouTube transcript, but this is not for n8n. So you want to make sure you are actually getting the proper community, otherwise it's not going to work. Okay, so as you can see right here, this is the one that you want to grab, right? So if you click on this, all right, there you go. So this is what it says, n8n nodes YouTube transcript. So all you have to do is click or copy this name or this package. You're going to come back here. You're going to paste this, and you're going to say understand the risks, because obviously you are using a public source because all of these nodes are made by community. You'll click on install, and you will have this node installed now. So next time when you come to your workflow, so let's go ahead and, so if I go head over here, now if I click on add node and search for YouTube, as you can see right here, the YouTube transcript node is available for me. And then next to it, this little box that just says this node is from our community. It's part of the n8n YouTube nodes YouTube transcript package. Okay, so that's the difference. Again, this is super useful because you know, there are certain nodes that community. There's not a lot of nodes there, to be honest, because I've looked through a bunch of it, but there are some useful ones. So if you're utilizing that for your purpose, whatever it may be, then go ahead and check that out. But anyways, so what you need to do here is all you have to do is add that YouTube transcript. And again, I have just added a trigger as a when clicking a test workflow, depending on what your use case is. You can actually add maybe some kind of a webhook here that actually monitors, for example, a competitive business that you have their channel, or every time a new video gets posted on their channel, then you'll be able to utilize that and automate it, right? But then you can take that video, convert it to YouTube transcript, and then utilize your sales enablement, which we'll walk through in a little bit, to be able to convert that YouTube transcript into several other things that you can do with it, right? But yeah, so like I said, you can come here and just add a webhook where then you'll be able to monitor a particular channel, or you can have an HTTP request tool where you can have access to other different resources. But anyways, for our purposes, again, for this demo, all I'm doing is literally going to YouTube, and this is the OpenAI Dev Day that Sam Altman announced, the GPT-4o.
From outside documents or databases.
It's very loud.
GPT-4 Turbo has now.
Yeah, so this was
2023.
Let me pause this. This was announced on December 2023. So this was again the announcement for GPT-4 and the different tokens that they made available for public. So what I did was I basically copied the URL here, and as you can see, C6ZK. I want to make sure you know that that's the same URL here, and the bottom right here it says 6ZK, right? So that's the YouTube. And when you click on test step, what this does is this is going to take that and convert it into a nice little summary here. And if I go to the table view here, you'll be able to see all of the transcript from that video. You want to make sure, if you want to return this as one text, you want to toggle this to merge text, because if you don't do this, here's what's going to happen. This will actually return all the timestamps too. So if I click on this, now you'll see welcome to our first ever. So all of these timestamps are kind of provided here in the duration for each one. And as you can see in the bottom here, there's like several pages here. So depending on what your use case is, you'll be able to, if you want to do this, then go ahead. So you can also add an aggregate node. So for example, so all this data is coming in here with the timestamps. So you can take this aggregate. Let's say you only want to grab from a particular timeline. Then what you could do is put a set node and then use this aggregate node, where then you'll be able to grab all of that and convert it into a nice little data here using this aggregate node. And again, all you have to do is put the input field name. And in this case, it's going to be, I think it was the text. Yep, right here is the text. And I'm converting it to, or I'm renaming the field to data, and it's going to provide me all of that data without the timestamps or anything like that. But anyways, for our purposes, we don't need to do that. So I'm going to get rid of this. So now it's saying sending 70 items. And if we go to our sales enablement here, this you can see it says it's sending all of these different pages, and I don't want that, right? For my use case, I want to be able to return this just as a merge text. So I'm going to click on that. Test step, and welcome to, yep, perfect. So that's, I'm getting this as one merge text without kind of the array of different timestamps with different text in there. And as you can see, it's here, it's sending this one item to different nodes on the next step. All right, so that's how you basically take a YouTube video and convert it into transcript. Again, you could, for example, let's say if there's a product demo, right? So let's say you have a product demo for a SaaS company that's your competitor. So you can take that product demo and utilize this tool. So for example, let's say this is a SaaS explainer video. You can take this video and add it to this transcript, where then you can do other things with it. But anyways, for our purposes, this Sam Altman's announcement is pretty good. Okay, so now this is where kind of the magic of this prompting comes in, right? So we have this big chunk of text or the transcript of the video that's here. So what we need to do is convert this into battle cards for our sales team. For those of you who don't know what battle cards are, it's basically a way to utilize a resource that you can extract and have a product feature highlights. You can have objection handling, and then also suggested responses for those objects that might come from your customers. And that's exactly what the prompt here does, right? So I added this sales OpenAI node where I choose my account. And again, you can watch my previous videos if you don't know how to connect your account. The resource is going to be text because this is what we're using here. The operation is going to be messaging a model, right? And then you're going to select the model. In my case, I selected GPT-4 mini. If you have a lot of text, so if you're putting a large video or a video that's very long, so for example, let's say if you have a seminar that you're trying to summarize and turn it into something different, you want to make sure you're choosing a good, strong model, so that way your OpenAI node will be able to provide whatever you need. But anyways, so for this particular prompt, what I set was from the text provided, and the text in the bottom I'm defining as the text that we're getting from our YouTube transcript video. Extract key insights for sales enablement. I need product feature highlights, objection handling tips, including common objections and suggested responses, because we're telling it, hey, we want to be able to, in advance, figure out a way that our customers might object to certain things. So provide those object handling tips and also provide the suggested responses, which is going to be super, super helpful, especially if you've been any part of any kind of sales team. You'll know that it's a very common practice. And then also I said unique selling points, so USPs or competitive advantage, because you want to be able to provide the competitive advantage versus you and whoever your competition is, and then key statistics or metrics that are mentioned in this particular video, right? And then I've said that please present the response in the following format. So I'm providing it this format that I want this response to be in. And in my case, this is going to be these battle cards, right? The first one is going to be the product feature highlights. I want 2 features, the objection handling tip, where you have a customer concern, and then what the suggested response would be from your sales team, right? And then also unique selling points and then key metrics. And I've said use bold headings for each section and bullet points for individual insights to ensure a clear, structured format suitable for sales battle cards. So I'm being very, very clear, and my prompt is very structured to make sure I'm getting the proper output. And depending on what your use case is, make sure you're adding the proper prompt here. And for those of you who are part of my school community, you will have access to my GPT, custom GPT that you'll be able to utilize and grab these prompts from there. But anyways, so here's the right side. This is what the result looks like. So I have this prompt, and at the bottom, the text is exactly what we want here. So let's go ahead and test this thing out. So I'm going to click on test step. And once we do that, so this thing is going to run right here. As you can see, it says sales enablement, and this is the output. And as you can see right here, exactly the way we wanted it, right? So we said product feature highlights. Let me expand this a little bit. There you go. So again, obviously this was a announcement dev day for GPT-4. So the first, these are going to be the two feature highlights. GPT-4 Turbo supports up to 128,000 tokens of context, allowing for more extensive nuanced interactions. Feature 2 is going to be the JSON mode that they presented. So that's great, right? And here's the object handling tips, right? Objection. How does GPT-4 Turbo compare in terms of pricing? So now, as you can see right here, it's making the job of your sales team very, very easy, right? So let's say you are a competitor of OpenAI. In this case, for example, let's say Claude. Claude has announced a new feature, or they provide a new video that their product team has released. Their sales team could utilize this workflow or these AI agents to be able to compare their product with GPT-4, because in real life, customers, their enterprise customers, are going to ask them, hey, what makes your product better than GPT-4, for example, right? Specifically when it comes to pricing, because that's always a common ask. So that's why you can see the objection here. A customer might actually say this in real life. Hey, how does your GPT-4 compare in terms of pricing with others? So then the response, or AI already provides the response. It says GPT-4 Turbo is significantly cheaper than GPT-4 with cost to reduction factor 3 times for prompt tokens and 2 times for completion tokens. Very precise, very accurate based on the transcript that we're getting. Again, if this is making the job of sales teams extremely easy. Before this, you have to sit down, go through the product release video, or talk to your product team and figure out, hey, how do we present this to our sales team? But this is taking care of all of that and automating the process, right? And it's also giving you unique selling points. So it's unique selling point 1 and 2, higher rate limits for established GPT-4 customer, custom models program offers tailored model development, blah, blah, blah. Key metrics, GPT-4 Turbo can handle up to 128,000 tokens. And that's actually accurate, because as you can see, that metric or that number is actually coming in from our context. And if I look through it a little bit, I should be able to find that. There you go. GPT-4 Turbo supports up to 128,000 tokens of context. So you can see that this is not making things up, right? And you can further establish or further refine the prompt to make sure that it's grabbing everything, particularly from this and however format you want. All right, so now that we have all of this and we're outputting this as JSON, so that way, if you want to, for example, say, hey, you know what, for my object handling ticks, I want to grab this and add it to my Salesforce, so whatever your Salesforce is. So if you want to be able to, for example, add that to an opportunity. So the way to do that is you can just click whatever your CRM is, right? You can have Salesforce, you can have HubSpot, or whatever you're using. So for Salesforce, they have all these different great functionalities, like uploading a document, getting a contact, creating a summary, or getting a summary. In this case, we'll be able to add this to our opportunity, right? Anyways, but I don't want to make this video too long, but you can utilize now this battle card and add it to different, your CRM. You could send an email to your particular sales team. You can add it directly to Slack as well. So that way they're aware and they're ready with these great different tools in their hand now. All right, so that was kind of the first use case was for the sales enablement. Now you can also, let's say this video is about your own product release. So let's say your product team releases this great video of how your product works. You can take that transcript, and instead of manually doing this, what you could do is add a OpenAI node here, and same thing. You'll go back if you want to learn the step-by-step tutorial on how to add social media content to your platform. You can watch my previous video where I walk through step-by-step on creating and attaching my LinkedIn account and blog posts, so you can do all of that. So make sure you watch the previous video if you want to learn how to add your social media to this AI agent. But anyways, so as far as the prompt, again, the magic here is the prompt. So I'm gonna expand this real quick just to show you what the prompt looks like. So I said from the text provided, and again, the text is right here, and I'm defining the text here. Create tailored social media posts for LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And I'm providing different context on for each platform what to do. So for LinkedIn, I'm saying a professional post highlighting the key insights with a formal tone. For Instagram, a short engaging post with the call to action and relevant hashtags. And once we click on test this step, and again, obviously make sure you're outputting this as JSON, so that way you'll be able to grab the different posts and connect it to the corresponding nodes. And as you can see right here, it created a nice little post for LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So now all you have to do is on the next node, you can just attach this to your LinkedIn account, X account, Facebook account, and everything else. So that's kind of like the second AI node here that we added to be able to take this YouTube transcript and do something with it. The third one, let's say, hey, you know what? All I need to do is I want to summarize a particular video. Let's say you have a very long video, a podcast, or whatever it may be, right? You don't want to go through that entire podcast, but you just want a nice little summary. So same thing, you will have an AI agent here, and you can add different, you don't have to add GPT OpenAI models here. That's why I kind of put this AI agent here instead of just the OpenAI model, because you can have access to, for example, adding a Grok chat model. If you're using Anthropic's chat model, you can add whatever you want. But in any case, so for this particular one, let me actually get out of this and add the OpenAI model, GPT-4. Go back. All right. So for this AI agent, this is going to be a conversational agent, and the prompt I said define below. And if I expand this, all I said is summarize the key points and insights from the JSON.txt, and all I'm doing is just grabbing this and bringing it over here. I need a brief summary of the most important takeaways, any significant topics for theme discussion, noteworthy code, statistics, blah, 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 right? Format the response in concise, easy to read format. So now here's what you're getting, a summary of, let's say, a very long video, and you're sending to yourself a nice little email, or you can put that in a Slack channel as well. But let's go ahead and test this step. And this should be able to provide this nice little summary for us so that we can utilize this for other nodes. There you go. So as you can see, we have this nice little summary, key takeaways, and then also it has, kind of divided it into different topics such as the significant themes, and then also accessibility for AI development for non-coders, noteworthy codes. As you can see right here, you can see that it pulls codes. It says you can now call many function at once, and it'll do better at following instructions. And it also has recommendation and points. And again, this is all coming in based on our prompt that we provided here. All right, well, so hopefully that helped. And again, like I said, you can add this to your email or a Slack, or any additional nodes if you want. So this is kind of a good overview of what you can do with this community node called YouTube Transcript. Again, you can completely automate this process where you can, as I mentioned before, you can have a webhook that will be attached to this, where then you can be monitoring a competitor's channel. You can add individual YouTube links to this, where, for example, let's say if there's a webinar or a seminar that's very long, you can utilize this. This is a great tool to be able to summarize or turn that particular YouTube video into something much more. If you're part of the school community, you can basically just go over here. I'm going to provide this in the template sections. All you have to do is click on import from file, and you'll be able to import this into your own workflow, where then you'll be able to add additional loads or check out for yourself how to customize this tool or customize this workflow for your own purposes. All right, well, hopefully you found this helpful. Please make sure you subscribe and like the video. I have some great tutorials that are upcoming, and also a few great announcements that I'm about to make. So make sure you are following that and looking out for that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.